Hi there, friends. Thanks for tuning in to Fanfic Adventure. We have a fantastic story for you today. What if Naruto was the son of Broly who unlocked the Ikari form during the Chunin exam finals? If you enjoy our content, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Your support means everything to us. Now, let's jump into the story. Chapter 1, Blood of the Warrior. The full moon hung heavy over Konoha, bathing the village in silvery light. In his small apartment, 12-year-old Naruto Uzumaki tossed violently in his sleep, tangled in sweat-soaked sheets. His dreams were the same as they had been for weeks, visions of green light, crushing pressure in his chest, and a roaring so primal it seemed to shake the stars themselves. Naruto bolted upright with a gasp, clutching at his chest. For a brief moment, his eyes flashed teal before returning to their natural blue. The sensation that had awakened him, like molten power surging through his veins, was already fading. Again, he muttered, rubbing his temples. These episodes had been increasing in frequency as the Chunin exams approached. Something inside him was struggling to break free, something that even the Ninetales couldn't, or wouldn't, explain. Dawn was still hours away, but sleep would not return. Naruto dressed quickly, pulling on his orange jumpsuit and adjusting his forehead protector. If he couldn't sleep, he might as well train. Team 7 was meeting at 8, and Kakashi-sensei had promised to help them prepare for the exams. As he left his apartment, Naruto failed to notice the shadow that detached itself from a nearby rooftop, following at a discreet distance. "You're early," Sasuke remarked coldly as Naruto approached the bridge where Team 7 gathered. The Uchiha leaned against the railing, projecting his usual aura of disinterest. "Couldn't sleep." Naruto stretched, trying to mask his fatigue. "Too excited about the exams, I guess." Sasuke's eyes narrowed slightly. "You look terrible." "Thanks a lot, jerk." "I mean you look sick," Sasuke clarified, something almost like concern flickering across his face before disappearing. "Don't drag us down if you can't keep up." Before Naruto could respond with an insult, Sakura arrived, her long pink hair catching the morning light. She immediately brightened at the sight of Sasuke, but then noticed Naruto's haggard appearance. "Naruto, are you okay? You look like you haven't slept in days." Naruto plastered on his trademark grin. "I'm fine, Sakura-chan. Just excited about showing everyone what I can do in the exams." She didn't look convinced but was distracted when Kakashi appeared in a swirl of leaves, only an hour late this time. "Good morning, everyone," their sensei said cheerfully, his visible eye crinkling. "Today we'll be working on chakra control. It's essential for the challenges ahead." Naruto groaned. Chakra control exercises were his weakness, and Kakashi knew it. The Jonin led them to a secluded training ground with a small pond, surrounded by tall trees. "Water walking," Kakashi announced. "Sasuke, Sakura, you've made progress with this technique. Today we'll add a combat element. Naruto, you still need to master the basics." Naruto scowled. "I've been practicing." "Show me," Kakashi challenged, gesturing toward the pond. Taking a deep breath, Naruto concentrated on directing chakra to his feet. He'd spent countless hours trying to master this, but something always felt off, like trying to force two opposing magnets together. He stepped onto the water's surface. 1 step. 2 steps. 3, the water exploded around him as he sank, but not before everyone noticed the strange golden glow that briefly surrounded his feet. "What was that?" Sakura asked as Naruto splashed back to shore, drenched and frustrated. Kakashi's casual demeanor had vanished, his single exposed eye intently focused on Naruto. "Try again," he said quietly. Naruto concentrated harder this time, feeling for that strange energy that kept interfering with his chakra control. As he channeled power to his feet, he could sense it, something wild and different from chakra, something that surged and fought against his control. This time, he managed 5 steps before the water's surface shattered beneath him. The golden aura was more pronounced, swirling around his feet for nearly 2 seconds before dissipating. Kakashi's hand fell on his shoulder when he returned to shore. That's enough for now. Sasuke, Sakura, continue practicing the exercise I showed you last week. Naruto, come with me. They walked a short distance away, out of earshot of the others. How long has this been happening? Kakashi asked, his voice unnaturally serious. Naruto shrugged. The weird gold stuff. Just started recently. But I've always had trouble with chakra control. And you never thought to mention it. I figured it was just because of, you know. Naruto gestured vaguely at his stomach, referring to the nine tails sealed inside him. Kakashi crouched down to Naruto's level. Have you been having any unusual dreams? Physical changes? Unexplained bursts of strength or anger? Naruto's eyes widened. How did you know? I didn't, Kakashi said grimly. But I'm beginning to suspect something. After training today, I want you to come with me to see the Hokage. Am I in trouble? Naruto asked, suddenly worried. Kakashi's eye crinkled in what might have been a smile beneath his mask. No. But you might be more special than even you realize, Naruto. In his office, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, exhaled a cloud of pipe smoke as he studied the scroll before him. The report detailed unusual energy signatures detected around Konoha over the past several weeks, energy that didn't match any known chakra pattern. A knock on the door interrupted his reading. Enter, he called. A masked ANBU operative materialized from the shadows. Lord Hokage, they've arrived. Send them in. Kakashi entered, followed by an unusually subdued Naruto. The boy's normally boundless energy seemed tempered, his bright blue eyes troubled. Ah, Naruto, the Hokage greeted warmly. How are your preparations for the exams coming along? Fine, I guess, Naruto replied, glancing uncertainly at Kakashi. Lord Hokage, Kakashi began, there's something you should see. He turned to Naruto. Show him what happened during training today. Just try to channel chakra to your hand. Naruto nodded and held out his palm, concentrating. At first, nothing happened. Then blue chakra swirled into visibility, normal enough, but within seconds, golden energy began to spark and intermingle with the blue, creating a turbulent, unstable mixture before both energies dissipated. The Hokage's pipe nearly fell from his mouth. How long has this been occurring? The visual manifestation is recent, Kakashi answered. But I suspect the underlying condition has always been present. It would explain his unique challenges with chakra control and his unusual stamina. The Hokage set aside his pipe and leaned forward, eyes fixed on Naruto. Tell me about your dreams, Naruto. Naruto shifted uncomfortably. They're weird. There's this green light and someone screaming, not scared screaming, but angry, like they're going to destroy everything. And I feel this power. Like I could shatter mountains. He looked down at his hands. Sometimes when I wake up, my whole body hurts, like I've been fighting all night. The Hokage exchanged a significant look with Kakashi before turning back to Naruto. I believe these symptoms are related to your unique heritage. You mean the nine tails? Naruto asked. Not exactly, the Hokage said carefully. Naruto, what do you know about the night you were born? Naruto shrugged. Just that the fourth Hokage sealed the nine tails in me to save the village. The Hokage nodded slowly. That's true, but there's more to the story. The night of the Nine Tails attack was also marked by another unusual event, a meteor shower unlike any ever recorded. One particular meteor crashed in the forest outside Konoha. What does that have to do with me? Naruto asked, confusion evident on his face. When ANBU investigated the crash site, they found something unexpected, a small pod of unknown origin. Inside was an infant boy with a peculiar monkey-like tail. Naruto's eyes widened. Me? I had a tail. Yes. It was removed surgically, but the scar should still be visible at the base of your spine. Naruto's hand instinctively moved to his lower back. He'd always thought the small, round scar there was just another unexplained mark, like the whiskers on his face. So I'm not even from this world. His voice cracked slightly. You are very much of this world now, Naruto, the Hokage said gently. But your biological origins appear to be elsewhere. The fourth Hokage believed you were sent here for a reason. When the Nine Tails attacked that same night, he saw it as providence, a child with extraordinary life force who might be able to bear the burden of becoming a Jinchuriki. Naruto sat in stunned silence, trying to process this revelation. Not only was he the container of the Nine Tails, but he wasn't even fully human. Why tell me now? He finally asked. Because, Kakashi interjected, whatever power is part of your heritage seems to be awakening. The Chunin exams will push you to your limits, and we need you prepared for what might happen. The Hokage nodded. From this day until the exams, you'll train with Kakashi in private sessions alongside your regular team training. We need to understand these energy fluctuations before they become dangerous. Dangerous to who? Naruto asked. The Hokage's eyes were grave. To everyone, Naruto. Including yourself. In a hidden laboratory beneath Konoha, a figure in a white coat studied readouts from sophisticated monitoring equipment. Screens displayed various waveforms and energy signatures, one of which pulsed with unusual intensity. The subject's energy output is increasing exponentially, the scientist reported to the shadowy figure standing behind him. These readings match those from the original crash site 13 years ago. Has dimensional anomaly protocol been initiated? The shadowy figure asked. Yes, Commander Shirai. Surveillance has been doubled, and containment measures are on standby. Commander Shirai of the Dimensional Boundary Authority, a secret organization known only to the highest levels of government, studied the pulsing waveform. The DBA had been formed after the first confirmed dimensional breach 15 years ago, when strange warriors with impossible powers had briefly appeared before vanishing. The meteoric pod that had delivered Naruto had been the second documented instance. The boy is participating in the Chunin exams, Shirai noted. The stress could trigger a full manifestation. Should we extract him before then? Shirai considered this. No. The Hokage would never allow it, and we need more data. Place our operatives among the exam proctors and observers. If a breach occurs, we'll contain it there. And if we can't contain it? Shirai's expression hardened. Then we'll have no choice but to eliminate the source. The week before the Chunin exams passed in a blur of training. Kakashi worked with Naruto privately each evening after Team 7's regular sessions, focusing on controlling the dual energies within him. They stood in a clearing deep in the forest, far from prying eyes. Kakashi had set up a circle of training dummies. Again, Kakashi instructed. Try to channel only your chakra, not the other energy. Naruto was drenched in sweat, having spent hours attempting to separate the two forces within him. He formed a hand sign and concentrated, feeling the familiar blue chakra flow. For a moment, it remained pure, then the golden energy sparked through it, wild and untamed. I can't keep them apart. Naruto growled in frustration. It's like they're fighting each other. Kakashi observed thoughtfully. Perhaps that's the wrong approach. Instead of separating them, try harmonizing them. How? Don't resist the golden energy. Accept it as part of you, just like your chakra. Guide it rather than fighting it. Naruto closed his eyes, seeking the conflicting energies within. He could feel his chakra, familiar, moldable, flowing like water. And beneath it, something hotter, more volatile, like contained lightning or compressed fire. Instead of pushing it away, he reached for it, inviting it to flow alongside his chakra. The effect was immediate. Golden light swirled around him, lifting his hair slightly as both energies synchronized. It wasn't perfect harmony, more like two powerful rivers running parallel, occasionally crossing currents, but it was stable. Good, Kakashi said, genuinely impressed. Now, focus that combined energy into a single point. Your palm. Naruto extended his hand, directing the dual energies. A sphere formed, not quite a Rasengan, which he'd only seen Jiraiya perform once, but something similar. Blue chakra formed the core, while golden energy orbited it in rapid, concentric circles. What should I do with it? Naruto asked, his voice strained with the effort of maintaining control. Kakashi pointed to a training dummy. Let's see what happens. Naruto thrust his palm toward the dummy. The sphere shot forward, leaving a trail of blue and gold in its wake. When it struck the dummy, there was no explosion. Instead, the energy seemed to drill through it, creating a perfect hole before continuing through 3 more dummies behind it. Naruto stared in amazement. That was awesome. And dangerous, Kakashi cautioned. This power isn't just enhanced chakra, Naruto. It's something fundamentally different. During the exams, use your normal techniques unless absolutely necessary. We don't understand the full extent of this ability yet. Naruto nodded, though his eyes gleamed with excitement. For the first time, he felt like he might actually have a chance not just to pass the exams, but to truly impress everyone, especially Sasuke and Sakura. One more thing, Kakashi added seriously. If you feel yourself losing control, if anger or fear begins to overwhelm you, withdraw immediately. Promise me, Naruto. I promise, Naruto agreed, though he couldn't imagine any scenario where he'd need to give up. Not when he had this new power to explore. The day of the Chunin exams arrived with clear skies and a buzz of excitement throughout Konoha. Teams from various hidden villages had gathered for the biannual competition, filling the streets with foreign ninja of all descriptions. Team 7 met outside the academy building where the first stage would take place. Sasuke looked confident as always, while Sakura fidgeted nervously with her hair. Naruto bounced on his heels, bursting with nervous energy. Ready to kick some butt, he asked his teammates with a grin. Just don't get in my way, Sasuke replied, but without his usual edge. The past weeks of preparation had fostered a grudging respect between them. Sakura smiled at Naruto. You seem different lately. More focused. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Just been training hard, that's all. As they entered the building, they encountered the first challenge, a genjutsu disguising the exam room's location. While other genin were fooled, Sasuke immediately detected it. Naruto was surprised to find he could sense it too. The golden energy within him seemed to react to the illusion, making it appear less solid somehow. After a brief confrontation with Rock Lee and his dramatic declaration of love for Sakura, they finally entered the real exam room. It was packed with genin from every village, many looking far more experienced and dangerous than Team 7. Sasuke-kun. A blur of blonde hair tackled Sasuke as Ino Yamanaka appeared, wrapping her arms around him from behind. I've missed seeing your handsome face. Sakura immediately bristled. Get off him, Ino pig. Make me, billboard brow. As the two kunoichi bickered, the rest of the rookie 9 gathered around. Shikamaru Nara yawned lazily while Choji Akimichi munched on chips. Kiba Inuzuka approached with Akamaru perched on his head, followed by the quiet Shino Aburame and the timid Hinata Hyuga. So all of us rookies made it, Kiba said with a feral grin. Though I'm surprised they let Deadlast enter. Normally, Naruto would have erupted at the taunt, but the weeks of training with Kakashi had taught him something about restraint. Instead, he simply smiled. We'll see who's laughing when I become a Chunin before any of you. Kiba blinked, taken aback by the uncharacteristically calm response. Before he could reply, a silver-haired genin approached their group. You might want to keep it down, he advised with a friendly smile. You're attracting attention, and not the good kind. Indeed, many of the other candidates were glaring at the noisy rookies. Who are you? Sasuke asked suspiciously. Kabuto Yakushi. This is my 7th time taking the exam, so I've picked up a few things. 7th. Sakura exclaimed. Are the tests that difficult? Kabuto adjusted his glasses. The Chunin exams are no joke. But I've collected information on all the participants if you're interested. He produced a deck of cards, explaining they contained data on exam candidates. The rookies immediately began requesting information on various competitors. Gaara of the Desert, Sasuke requested. And Rock Lee. Kabuto pulled out their cards, revealing impressive statistics for both genin. Anyone else you're curious about? Kabuto asked. How about me? Naruto asked impulsively. Kabuto raised an eyebrow but selected a card. As he channeled chakra into it, his eyes widened slightly. That's strange. What is it? Naruto asked. There's some kind of interference, Kabuto muttered. Your data is fluctuating. He studied Naruto with new interest. That's never happened before. Before he could elaborate, a burst of smoke at the front of the room announced the arrival of the exam proctors. Ibiki Marino, a scarred man with a commanding presence, stepped forward. Listen up, maggots. The first test begins now. Take assigned seats for the written exam. As they separated to find their seats, Naruto felt a brief surge of panic. A written test? That was his worst subject. He glanced around nervously as he located his assigned desk, finding himself seated next to Hinata. Gee, good luck, Naruto-kun, she whispered, her face flushing pink. Thanks, Hinata, he replied, grateful for the encouragement. Ibiki explained the rules, a test with 10 questions, the 10th to be revealed at the end. Getting caught cheating resulted in point deductions, and if any team member scored 0, the entire team failed. As the test began, Naruto stared at the paper in dismay. The questions were impossibly difficult, complex calculations, obscure ninja codes, theoretical chakra problems. There was no way he could answer them honestly. That's when it hit him, they were supposed to cheat without getting caught. It was a test of information gathering skills. Glancing around, he could see others had realized this too. Sasuke was using his Sharingan to copy someone's pencil movements. Hinata had activated her Byakugan beside him. But how could he cheat? He had no visual jutsu, and his clones wouldn't help here. As panic began to rise, he felt that now familiar warmth in his core, the golden energy responding to his stress. Suddenly, his senses sharpened dramatically. He could hear pencils scratching on paper with crystal clarity, distinguish individual heartbeats in the room. And most surprisingly, he could see chakra flowing through the bodies of those around him, similar to what he imagined the Byakugan must show. This heightened awareness allowed him to track the movements of a Chunin disguised as a candidate who was answering all questions correctly. Naruto carefully mimicked his answers, his handwriting steadier than it had ever been. As the test progressed, however, maintaining this enhanced state became increasingly difficult. A dull pain began to throb behind his eyes, and he could feel his control slipping. The golden energy was pushing for more, wanting to burst forth completely. 5 minutes remaining. Ibiki announced. Naruto had completed 8 questions, enough to pass. He released his hold on the energy, slumping slightly as his senses returned to normal. Beside him, Hinata looked concerned. Are you okay? She whispered. Yeah, he murmured, rubbing his temples. Just a headache. Finally, Ibiki announced it was time for the 10th question, adding a new rule: those who chose to answer it and failed would be banned from taking the Chunin exams ever again. However, teams could choose to withdraw now and try again next time. Several teams lost their nerve and dropped out. Naruto felt the pressure mounting as people around him surrendered. For a moment, doubt crept in: what if he failed and prevented Sasuke and Sakura from ever advancing? But then he remembered everything he'd been through, the new power awakening within him, and Kakashi's faith in his abilities. Setting his jaw, Naruto slammed his hand on the desk. Don't underestimate me, he declared loudly. I don't quit, and I don't run. I'll accept your question, even if I stay a genin forever. I'll still become Hokage my own way. His outburst seemed to inspire the remaining candidates, as no one else withdrew. Ibiki surveyed the room, then broke into a grim smile. Everyone's still here, passes, he announced. After explaining that the true purpose of the test was to measure resolve under pressure, Ibiki was interrupted by a black bundle crashing through the window. It unfurled to reveal a banner and a woman with purple hair and a mischievous grin. Listen up, maggots. Anko Mitarashi announced. I'm the proctor for the second exam. Meet at Training Ground 44 tomorrow morning. Dismissed. As the genin filed out, Naruto felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to find a jonin he didn't recognize. Uzumaki Naruto, the man asked. His forehead protector bore the Konoha symbol, but something about him seemed off. Hokage's orders. You're to report for a special medical examination before tomorrow's test. Medical examination? Naruto repeated suspiciously. The old man didn't mention anything about that. The jonin's expression hardened slightly. It's standard procedure for all first-time exam takers. Your teammates will be examined separately. Naruto's instincts, heightened by his recent training, screamed danger. You know what? I think I'll check with Kakashi-sensei first. The jonin's hand tightened on Naruto's shoulder. That won't be necessary, I believe it is necessary, interrupted a cool voice. Sasuke had appeared beside them, dark eyes narrowed suspiciously. All special orders regarding Team 7 go through Kakashi. The jonin hesitated, then released Naruto. Very well. I'll inform the Hokage of your reluctance to comply. He disappeared in a swirl of leaves. That guy was sketchy, Naruto muttered. Sasuke agreed. We should tell Kakashi. They found their sensei waiting outside with Sakura. After hearing about the encounter, Kakashi's visible eye narrowed. There are no scheduled medical exams, he confirmed. That was likely someone trying to isolate you, Naruto. From now until the exams are complete, none of you go anywhere alone. Understand? All three nodded solemnly. Good. Now get some rest. The forest of death awaits you tomorrow. That night, Naruto's dreams were more vivid than ever. He stood on a shattered landscape, the sky green instead of blue. Before him towered a figure with spiky golden hair and bulging muscles, wrapped in a red waistcloth. The figure's face was contorted in primal rage as he unleashed a roaring scream that shook the very heavens. Kakarot. The name meant nothing to Naruto, yet it filled him with inexplicable dread. The figure turned toward him, eyes blazing with fury and madness. My son, the figure growled, his voice like grinding mountains. Embrace your heritage. Embrace the rage. It is your birthright. Naruto tried to back away, but his feet wouldn't move. Who are you? He demanded. The figure's aura flared brighter, golden energy crackling with green lightning. I am Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. And you are my blood. Naruto bolted upright in bed, gasping for breath. Golden light illuminated his room, emanating from his own body. As his heart rate slowed, the glow faded, leaving him in darkness once more. Broly, he whispered, testing the unfamiliar name. Something about it resonated deep within him, like a bell struck in perfect pitch. Was this really his father? A warrior from another dimension? Morning came too quickly. Team 7 gathered at the entrance to Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death. The massive trees loomed ominously, their canopy blocking most of the sunlight. Strange noises echoed from within, roars, screeches, and slithering sounds that set everyone on edge. Anko explained the second test, each team would receive either an Earth or Heaven scroll, and they had 5 days to obtain both types and reach the central tower. Any means were permitted, including killing. This just got serious, Sakura murmured as they received their Heaven scroll. Sasuke nodded grimly. We need to be strategic. Target weaker teams first. And stay alert for ambushes, Naruto added, surprising his teammates with his caution. After the attempt to isolate him yesterday, he wasn't taking any chances. When the signal came, they dashed into the forest like all the other teams, quickly establishing distance from the entry point. After finding a secluded spot, they huddled to form a plan. We should establish a password, Sasuke suggested. In case we get separated. He devised a complex passphrase about ninja opportunities that Naruto immediately knew he'd forget. Before he could protest, however, a powerful gust of wind tore through their position, scattering them in different directions. Naruto tumbled through underbrush before slamming into a tree trunk. Dazed, he shook his head to clear it, and found himself staring into the massive face of a snake. Its jaws opened wide, swallowing him whole before he could even scream. Inside the snake's stomach, acidic juices began dissolving his clothing. Panic surged through Naruto, and with it, the golden energy responded. His eyes flashed teal as power flooded his system. I am not going to die in a snake's belly, he roared. Channeling the dual energies as Kakashi had taught him, Naruto created dozens of shadow clones inside the confined space. The snake's stomach stretched to its limit, then beyond. With a final push of combined chakra and golden energy, Naruto and his clones burst through the snake's body, shredding it from within. Covered in gore but unharmed, Naruto oriented himself and raced back toward where he'd lost his teammates. As he approached, he sensed something wrong, a malevolent chakra unlike anything he'd felt before. Crouching in the underbrush, he observed a terrifying scene. A pale, snake-like ninja from the grass village had Sasuke and Sakura cornered. Sasuke was fighting desperately but clearly outmatched, while Sakura stood frozen in terror. Your eyes, the grass ninja hissed, stretching his neck impossibly to bite Sasuke's neck. They will be mine, Sasuke-kun. Rage flooded Naruto's system. Without thinking, he burst from cover, golden energy surging around him in visible waves. Get away from them, he shouted, his voice deeper and more resonant than normal. The grass ninja turned, surprise evident on his serpentine features. What's this? The Nine-Tails brat, but this chakra, how interesting. Naruto charged, moving faster than he ever had before. His fist connected with the ninja's face, sending him flying backward through 3 trees before he stabilized. Impressive, the ninja said, his voice changing as he wiped blood from his mouth. The disguise began to slough away, revealing a pale face with yellow, snake-like eyes. I am Orochimaru, and you, Naruto-kun, have just become much more interesting to me. Naruto stood protectively in front of his teammates, the golden aura swirling around him. His hair stood slightly on end, and his muscles seemed more defined. I don't care who you are, Naruto growled. Touch my friends again, and I'll end you. Orochimaru chuckled. Such power, is it the Nine-Tails? No, something else. Something not of this world, perhaps. His tongue slithered out, impossibly long. I think I'll take a sample. He attacked with blinding speed, but to Naruto's surprise, he could track the movement. The world seemed to slow down as his senses sharpened beyond human limits. He dodged the first strike and countered with a kick that caught Orochimaru in the ribs. The Sannin grunted in pain but recovered instantly, summoning another massive snake. Let's test your limits, shall we? The battle that followed was unlike anything Naruto had experienced. Even with his enhanced abilities, Orochimaru was in a different league. Every time Naruto landed a blow, the snake Sannin seemed to absorb it and come back stronger. Meanwhile, Sasuke had recovered enough to join the fight, his Sharingan activated and tracking their opponent's movements. We need to retreat, Sasuke called to Naruto between dodging strikes. He's toying with us. But Naruto couldn't retreat, not just because of pride, but because the energy surging through him demanded release. It was building to a level he couldn't contain, pushing against his control with increasing pressure. Sasuke, get Sakura out of here, he ordered, his voice strained. What? We're not leaving you. Just go. Naruto roared, a pulse of golden energy knocking everyone back several feet. Orochimaru studied him with scientific fascination. Ah, I see the problem. You're reaching critical mass, aren't you? Fascinating. Let me help you with that. The Sannin's fingers glowed with purple flame as he lunged forward, aiming for Naruto's stomach. 5 elements seal. The strike hit home, slamming into Naruto's seal. But instead of suppressing his power as Orochimaru intended, the conflicting energies, Naruto's chakra, the Nine-Tails chakra, the golden energy, and now Orochimaru's sealing technique, created a catastrophic reaction. Naruto screamed as golden light erupted from his body in a pillar that shot into the sky, visible throughout the forest of death. The ground beneath him cracked and cratered as his body lifted slightly off the ground. His hair flickered between blonde and a more golden hue, his eyes between blue and teal. Deep within his mindscape, the Nine-Tails stirred in its cage, watching the transformation with wary interest. So the dormant blood awakens, it rumbled. Interesting times ahead, indeed. The massive energy discharge lasted only seconds but left Naruto drained and unconscious. Before he collapsed completely, he saw Orochimaru retreating, a calculating gleam in his snake-like eyes. We'll meet again, son of Broly, the Sannin hissed. Your potential is too fascinating to ignore. Then darkness claimed Naruto, and he knew no more. Ruto! Naruto! Wake up! Consciousness returned slowly, Sakura's voice penetrating the fog in his mind. Naruto opened his eyes to find both his teammates leaning over him, concern evident on their faces, even Sasuke's usually stoic features showed worry. What happened? Naruto croaked, his throat raw as if he'd been screaming for hours. You tell us, Sasuke said. 1 minute you were fighting that Orochimaru guy, the next you were glowing like a miniature sun. Naruto sat up gingerly, noting they'd moved to a hollow beneath a massive tree's roots. How long was I out? Almost a day, Sakura answered. We've been taking turns standing guard. A day? The second exam had a 5-day limit, and they still needed an earth scroll. Naruto tried to stand, but his legs buckled beneath him. Easy, Sakura admonished, helping him sit back down. Whatever you did drained you completely. Even your healing factor took longer than usual. Naruto looked down at his hands. They appeared normal now, no golden energy in sight. Yet he could still feel it simmering beneath the surface, changed somehow by the confrontation with Orochimaru. More accessible, yet also more volatile. Did he mention someone named Broly? Naruto asked quietly. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Yes. He called you son of Broly before he left. What does that mean? Naruto hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. The Hokage hadn't explicitly forbidden him from telling his teammates, but such information was clearly sensitive. It's complicated, he finally said. I'm not entirely who I thought I was. To his surprise, Sasuke merely nodded. We figured as much. Normal people don't glow gold and crater the ground by screaming. Sakura placed a gentle hand on Naruto's shoulder. You don't have to explain now. Let's focus on completing the exam first. Naruto felt a rush of gratitude for his teammates' acceptance. Thanks, guys. With Naruto still recovering, they decided to set an ambush rather than hunt actively for scrolls. Sasuke rigged a clearing with traps while Sakura used genjutsu to make it appear like an injured team was resting there. Their patience was rewarded when a rain team took the bait. The ensuing battle was brief. Even in his weakened state, Naruto could contribute by creating shadow clones as distractions. Sasuke's fire techniques and Sakura's tactical planning secured their victory, along with the earth scroll they needed. With both scrolls in hand, they made their way toward the central tower. The journey took another full day, during which Naruto gradually regained his strength. By the time they reached the tower, he was moving normally, though he still felt unusually drained. Inside, they opened both scrolls simultaneously as instructed, resulting in a summoning jutsu that brought forth Irika-sensei. Their former academy teacher congratulated them on passing the second exam and explained the philosophy behind the tests, heaven representing wisdom, earth representing strength, both necessary for a Chunin. As other teams filtered in over the remaining days, Naruto observed them with new interest. The sand team with the red-headed boy, Gaara, had arrived first, completely unscathed. There was something about Gaara that resonated with Naruto, a familiar energy signature that suggested he too might be a Jinchuriki. When the 5-day limit expired, only 7 teams had passed, the 3 rookie teams from Konoha, Team Guy, the Sand Siblings, Kabuto's team, and the Sound team. With 21 participants remaining, the proctors announced a preliminary round of one-on-one matches to reduce the numbers further for the finals. As they gathered in the tower's arena, Naruto noticed several Jonin and ANBU positioned around the upper gallery, including some he didn't recognize. One woman in particular kept glancing his way, Commander Jiraiya of the DBA, though Naruto didn't know this. The electronic board randomized the first match, Sasuke Uchiha vs Yoroya Kato, one of Kabuto's teammates. Before Sasuke entered the arena, he paused beside Naruto. "Whatever that power is," he said quietly, "learn to control it. I want to fight you at your best in the finals." Naruto grinned. "Count on it." The preliminary matches proceeded with varying levels of intensity. Sasuke won his bout despite the strange mark Orochimaru had left on his neck. Shino defeated a sound ninja using his insects. Kankuro revealed his puppetry skills. Sakura and Ino fought to a draw, both eliminated. Temari easily defeated Tenten. Then came Naruto's match against Kiba Inuzuka. "Lucky." Kiba crowed as he jumped into the arena. "I get to beat the dead last." Naruto remained calm as he descended the stairs, centering himself as Kakashi had taught him. He could feel the golden energy responding to his focused state, ready but not overwhelming. "Begin," the proctor announced. Kiba immediately launched into his beast mimicry jutsu, enhancing his speed and strength. With Akamaru at his side, transformed into a clone of Kiba, they attacked in perfect coordination. In the past, such an assault would have overwhelmed Naruto. Now, however, he found himself tracking their movements with ease. As Kiba's clawed hand swept toward his face, Naruto simply leaned back, the attack missing by millimeters. "What the?" Kiba growled, surprised by Naruto's improved reflexes. Naruto counterattacked with a precisely aimed kick that separated Kiba from Akamaru. "I'm not the same deadlast from the academy, Kiba." In the gallery, Kakashi watched with approval while Commander Shirai's eyes narrowed in assessment. Kiba and Akamaru regrouped, initiating their Fang over Fang technique, twin drilling attacks that spiraled toward Naruto from different angles. The attack was too powerful to dodge completely. Instead of evading, Naruto channeled chakra to his arms and caught both spinning forms, his feet cracking the arena floor as he was pushed back. Gasps echoed through the arena. No genin should have been able to stop that technique barehanded. "Impossible!" Kiba exclaimed as the rotation stopped, leaving him and Akamaru suspended in Naruto's grip. Naruto grinned, his eyes flashing teal for just an instant. "Nothing's impossible if you train hard enough." With a display of strength that shocked everyone, he hurled both Kiba and Akamaru in opposite directions. Akamaru hit the wall and reverted to his canine form, whimpering. Kiba managed to land on his feet, skidding backward. "When did you get so strong?" Kiba demanded, wiping blood from his lip. "I've always been strong," Naruto replied. "I just needed to believe it." He formed his signature cross-shaped hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Instead of his usual dozen clones, only 3 appeared, but each radiated a faint golden aura. The clones surrounded Kiba, moving with perfect coordination. When Kiba attacked one, the others countered immediately, landing solid blows that sent the Inuzuka stumbling. "Time to end this," Naruto declared. His clones launched Kiba into the air, where the real Naruto met him with an axe kick that drove him into the ground, creating a small crater. The proctor checked Kiba, who was unconscious but alive. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. As the medical team removed Kiba, Naruto rejoined his team in the gallery. Kakashi gave him an approving nod. You controlled it well, the Jonin murmured. But I noticed you couldn't produce as many clones as usual. The energies are still balancing, Naruto explained quietly. After what happened in the forest, it's like they're recalibrating. The remaining matches continued, with Hinata facing her cousin Neji in a brutal display of Hyuga techniques that left the gentle girl defeated and severely injured. Naruto, enraged by Neji's cruelty, vowed to defeat him in the finals. The final match pitted Gaara against Rock Lee in a spectacular battle that showcased Lee's incredible taijutsu and Gaara's seemingly impenetrable sand defense. The fight ended tragically with Lee severely injured after opening 5 of the 8 gates only to be crushed by Gaara's sand coffin. With the preliminaries complete, the remaining candidates drew numbers to determine the finals bracket. Naruto would face Neji in the first round, while Sasuke was matched against Gaara. The finals would take place in 1 month, giving the participants time to recover and train. As they left the tower, Kakashi pulled Naruto aside. The Hokage wants to see you. And Naruto, what happened in the Forest of Death did not go unnoticed. There are people very interested in your heritage. Is that bad? Naruto asked. It's complicated, Kakashi replied. Just be careful who you trust. In the Hokage's office, Naruto found not just the third, but also Jiraiya of the Sannin, a tall man with wild white hair and red facial markings. Ah, Naruto, the Hokage greeted him. This is Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin. He's agreed to oversee your training for the finals. Naruto eyed the older ninja skeptically. No offense, but is he strong? Jiraiya huffed indignantly. Strong? I'm the Toad Sage, kid. I trained the 4th Hokage himself. That got Naruto's attention. Really? You trained the 4th? Indeed, the Hokage confirmed. And he has experience with seals that might help with your unique situation. Jiraiya's expression grew serious. I've been briefed on your condition, Naruto. The energy you're manifesting matches descriptions from interdimensional travelers I've encountered in my research. They called it ki, life energy that differs from chakra in fundamental ways. So I really am from another dimension? Naruto asked. Your biological father was, the Hokage clarified. A warrior of immense power, according to the limited data we have. The name Broly appears in scattered references to a being of devastating strength. Jiraiya nodded. Our intelligence suggests he was something called a Scion, a race of battle-hungry warriors capable of transforming under certain conditions. The golden aura you've manifested is consistent with their Super Saiyan state. Naruto absorbed this information silently. All his life, he'd been defined by the 9 tails within him. Now he had to integrate another aspect of his identity, alien warrior blood. The timing is concerning, the Hokage continued. Your powers emerging now, coinciding with Orochimaru's appearance and the tensions between villages, it suggests larger forces at work. Which is why you need proper training, Jiraiya added. Not just to win your match against the Hyuga kid, but to prepare for whatever comes next. Meet me at the hot springs tomorrow morning. As Naruto left the meeting, his mind raced with questions. Who, or what, was he becoming? And what did it mean for his dream of being Hokage? In the shadows across from the Hokage Tower, a figure observed Naruto's departure. Commander Shirai activated a communication device. Subject's transformation in the forest registered a level 3-dimensional resonance, she reported. Energy signature matched the Broly incident from 15 years ago. Is containment possible? Asked a voice from the device. Uncertain. The 9 tails chakra creates an unpredictable variable. We're monitoring the situation. And if containment fails? Shirai watched Naruto disappear around a corner, her expression hardening. Then Protocol Zero is authorized. The dimensional integrity of our world takes priority over one anomalous subject. Training with Jiraiya proved both frustrating and enlightening. The Sannin's perverted antics and apparent laziness masked a shrewd mind and incredible power. He began by examining the seal on Naruto's stomach, noting with concern how Orochimaru's 5-element seal had disrupted the original design. "This is a mess," Jiraiya muttered, removing the interfering seal with a precise strike. "The Ninetales chakra and your Scion energy are fighting for dominance. We need to harmonize them, not suppress either one." He taught Naruto to access the Ninetales chakra deliberately rather than only in moments of extreme stress. At the same time, he had Naruto practice channeling his Scion energy through focused meditation. The key difference, Jiraiya explained as they sat beside a waterfall, is that chakra requires specific hand seals and molding, while ki responds primarily to emotion and will. That's why your Scion power emerges when you're angry or protective. Naruto frowned in concentration, feeling the dual energies within him. "So how do I use both together?" "Think of them as two instruments in an orchestra," Jiraiya suggested. "Different sounds, but they can play the same song if properly conducted." Days turned into weeks as Naruto trained relentlessly. He learned to water walk while maintaining both energies in balance. He practiced focusing ki into concentrated bursts that enhanced his physical abilities beyond normal chakra reinforcement. Most importantly, he worked on controlling the emotional triggers that could initiate a full transformation. "Your father, Broly, was infamous for his uncontrollable rage," Jiraiya explained during one session. "The limited records we have suggest he could destroy entire planets when fully transformed." Naruto's eyes widened. "Planets? That's impossible. In our dimension, perhaps. But where he came from, such power wasn't unheard of." Jiraiya's expression grew serious. "Which is why control is essential, Naruto. The Ikari form, what some records call the wrathful state, is just the beginning of a Scion's transformation potential." As the finals approached, Naruto's control improved dramatically. He could now channel both chakra and ki simultaneously, creating techniques that combined the precision of ninjutsu with the raw power of his Scion heritage. His shadow clones gained increased durability and strength, and he developed a variation of the Rasengan that incorporated swirling ki energy. The night before the finals, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, looking out over Konoha. The village lights twinkled below like earthbound stars, peaceful and unaware of the changes occurring within one of their ninja. "I thought I might find you here." Naruto turned to see Kakashi approaching, his visible eye crinkling in a smile. "Just thinking," Naruto replied. "About tomorrow's match?" "About everything. Who I am. What I'm becoming." Naruto looked down at his hands. "Sometimes I feel like I'm two different people fighting for control." Kakashi stood beside him, gazing out at the village. "Identity isn't fixed, Naruto. It's something we continuously shape through our choices. Your heritage, both of them, are just starting points. But what if I lose control? What if I become like him, like Broly?" "You won't," Kakashi said with quiet confidence. "Because unlike Broly, you have something he never did." "What's that?" "People who believe in you. Bonds that anchor you." Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Tomorrow, when you face Neji, remember why you fight, not just to win, but to protect what matters." As Kakashi departed, Naruto remained on the monument, watching the moon rise over the village. Tomorrow would be more than just a tournament match. It would be his first public demonstration of who he was becoming, the son of Broly, but also Naruto Uzumaki of Konoha. And he was ready. Chapter 2, Awakening. Fury. Dawn broke over Konoha, painting the sky in hues of gold and amber. Throughout the village, excitement mounted as civilians and visiting dignitaries made their way toward the arena where the Chunin Exam finals would take place. Street vendors hawked their wares, children darted between adults' legs, and ninja from various villages observed the festive atmosphere with varying degrees of interest. In his apartment, Naruto stood before a small mirror, adjusting his forehead protector. The face that looked back at him seemed subtly different, his whisker marks more pronounced, his blue eyes occasionally flickering with teal undertones when his emotions ran high. A month of intensive training had changed him physically as well. His body was leaner, more defined, the childish roundness in his face giving way to sharper angles. "Today's the day," he murmured, clenching his fist and watching with satisfaction as no golden aura appeared. Control had been Jiraiya's primary focus during their training, and Naruto had taken those lessons to heart. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "It's open," he called. Irika-sensei entered, smiling warmly. "I thought I might walk with you to the arena." Naruto grinned, genuinely touched by his former teacher's support. "Thanks, Irika-sensei." As they walked through the bustling streets, Irika studied Naruto with a mixture of pride and concern. "You seem different," he observed. "More centered." "I feel different," Naruto admitted. "Like I finally understand parts of myself that never made sense before." Irika nodded thoughtfully. "The Hokage briefed some of us about your situation. Not everything, but enough to know you're carrying an additional burden now." Naruto glanced at his former teacher, surprised. "Does it bother you? Knowing I'm not just a Jinchuriki, but also, something else?" "Naruto," Irika said firmly, stopping to face him directly, "what you are has never defined who you are to me. Human, Jinchuriki, or half-alien warrior, you're still the same knucklehead who painted the Hokage monument and never gives up." He smiled, ruffling Naruto's hair. "That's the Naruto I believe in." Emotion swelled in Naruto's chest, and for a moment, he felt that familiar warmth of ki responding to his feelings. But instead of fighting it, he accepted it, letting it flow naturally before subsiding, exactly as Jiraiya had taught him. "Thanks, Irika-sensei," he said, his voice slightly rough. As they approached the arena, the crowds thickened. Many spectators pointed and whispered as Naruto passed, no doubt discussing the strange phenomena reported during the preliminary rounds. Among the foreign visitors, he spotted a group that stood out, for individuals in unmarked gray uniforms, their faces expressionless as they scanned the crowd. Dimensional Boundary Authority agents, though Naruto didn't know this. At the competitor's entrance, Irika placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Remember, becoming a Chunin isn't just about winning fights. It's about demonstrating good judgment, tactical thinking, and knowing when to hold back." Naruto nodded, understanding the subtle warning. "I'll remember." Inside the preparation area, other finalists were already gathered. Shikamaru leaned against a wall, looking like he'd rather be watching clouds. Shino stood silently in a corner. Temari and Kankuro conferred in hushed tones while Gaara stood apart, arms crossed, radiating menace. Neji Hyuga was going through warm-up stretches, his Byakugan briefly activating to scan his surroundings. Only Sasuke was missing. "Cutting it close, aren't you?" Shikamaru commented as Naruto joined him. "I like to make an entrance," Naruto replied with a grin. "Still no Sasuke?" Shikamaru shook his head. "Troublesome. They might disqualify him if he doesn't show." Before they could speculate further, the proctor, a jonin named Genma who replaced the ill Hei-8, called the finalists to attention. "Line up. You'll be introduced to the crowd momentarily. The Hokage and the Kazekage are already in the observation box." He scanned the group. "Where's Uchiha?" When no one answered, Genma sighed. "Fine. We'll delay his match as much as protocol allows. If he doesn't show, he forfeits. Now follow me." The finalists entered the arena to thunderous applause. Naruto squinted against the bright sunlight, taking in the packed stadium. Most of the ninja from Konoha were present, including Kakashi and the other Jonin sensei. He spotted Sakura's pink hair in the stands, sitting beside Ino. Even Konohamaru and his friends had banners with Naruto's name. The Hokage stood to address the crowd, welcoming everyone to the finals and explaining the purpose of the Chunin Exams as both a substitute for war and a showcase of each village's rising talents. The Kazekage sat beside him, face partially obscured by his ceremonial hat and veil. After the formalities concluded, Genma announced the first match, Naruto Uzumaki vs Neji Hyuga. All other competitors please clear the arena. As the others departed, Naruto found himself facing the Hyuga prodigy across the dusty fighting ground. Neji's pale eyes were cold and dismissive. "You should withdraw now," Neji advised. "Fate has already determined this outcome." Naruto rolled his shoulders, settling into a ready stance Jiraiya had taught him, balanced between traditional shinobi positioning and the more direct approach favored by key users. "The only thing fate determines," Naruto replied evenly, "is that we all face challenges. What we do with them is up to us." Neji's eyes narrowed at this unexpected philosophy from the normally brash Naruto. "You speak of choice. A failure is a failure. Your destiny was decided the moment you were born." Something about those words struck a chord in Naruto. Born with the 9 tails sealed inside him. Born with alien scion blood. How much of his life had been predetermined by circumstances beyond his control? No. He rejected that thinking. "If destiny is so fixed," Naruto challenged, "then why do you fight so hard, Neji? Why perfect your techniques if the outcome is already decided?" A flicker of uncertainty crossed Neji's face before his expression hardened again. "Enough talk. Begin." Genma called, jumping back to give them space. Neji immediately activated his Byakugan and settled into the gentle fist stance. Naruto created 5 shadow clones that spread out to surround the Hyuga. In the stands, Hayashi Hyuga watched with interest beside his younger daughter, Hanabi. "Let's see if the Uzumaki boy has improved as much as rumored." Naruto's clones attacked in coordinated patterns, forcing Neji to defend from multiple angles. The Hyuga prodigy moved with graceful precision, dispelling clones with well-placed gentle fist strikes while avoiding the real Naruto's attempts to land a solid hit. "Your chakra network is unusual," Neji observed during a brief pause. "There's something interfering with the normal flow. But it won't save you from my eyes." He surged forward, fingers striking toward Naruto's tenketsu points. Naruto dodged most strikes, but several connected, sending sharp pain through his chakra network as the points closed. In the Hokage's viewing box, the third leaned forward with concern. This could be problematic. If Neji disrupts the balance between Naruto's chakra and his ki. The disguised Orochimaru, posing as the Kazekage, watched with barely concealed interest. "You seem unusually concerned about a genin match, Lord Hokage." "Naruto is unique," the third replied carefully. Back in the arena, Naruto felt the blocked tenketsu disrupting his chakra flow. The imbalance created pressure as his ki energy continued circulating unaffected by the gentle fist strikes. Jiraiya had warned him about this. Chakra and ki flowed through different but overlapping systems in his body, an imbalance between them could trigger an uncontrolled release. Neji pressed his advantage, moving into the Hyuga's ultimate defense. "You're within my range. 8 trigrams 64 palms." The barrage of strikes hit with pinpoint precision. 2 strikes. 4. 8. 16. Naruto couldn't evade the technique once it began, and each hit sealed another chakra point while leaving his ki system increasingly isolated. 32 palms. Naruto gritted his teeth against the pain, feeling something building within him, a pressure seeking release. 64 palms. The final strike sent Naruto tumbling backward across the arena. He lay still for a moment, dust settling around him as the crowd murmured. Neji straightened, deactivating his Byakugan. "As I said, fate cannot be changed. The match is not over." Naruto pushed himself up slowly, golden energy flickering around him like a candle flame struggling to ignite. With his chakra network largely blocked, the ki energy was asserting dominance, responding to his determination and pain. Neji's eyes widened. Impossible. I closed your tenketsu. In the stands, Hinata gasped, her own Byakugan active. Father, what is that energy? It's not chakra. Hayashi frowned deeply. I'm not certain. It appears to flow independently of the chakra network. Naruto stood fully now, his posture shifting subtly, more grounded, more primal. When he looked up, his eyes flickered between blue and teal. You talk about fate and destiny, Naruto said, his voice gaining a resonant quality. But you're really just hiding behind those ideas. You're angry about what happened to your father, and you're taking it out on Hinata and anyone else you think has it better than you. Neji's composure cracked. You know nothing of my pain. I know more than you think, Naruto countered. And I know that blaming others for circumstances beyond their control solves nothing. He began walking toward Neji, golden energy swirling more visibly now. You say a failure will always be a failure? Then watch me prove you wrong. With a burst of speed that left afterimages, Naruto closed the distance and landed a solid punch to Neji's solar plexus. The Hyuga prodigy flew backward, managing to land on his feet but clearly shaken by the power behind the blow. In the ANBU observation post, Commander Shirai activated her communicator. Energy signature spiking. Prepare containment measures. Neji reactivated his Byakugan, now taking Naruto seriously. That energy, what are you? Rather than answer, Naruto attacked again. This time Neji was ready, using the Hyuga's rotation technique to create a spinning chakra dome that repelled Naruto's assault. When the rotation stopped, Neji immediately countered, striking at Naruto's heart. But Naruto caught his wrist inches from its target. I promised Hinata I would win, Naruto said, the golden aura now constantly visible around him. And I never go back on my word. He delivered a combination of strikes that drove Neji back, each blow enhanced by ki energy. The Hyuga prodigy was forced entirely on the defensive, his Byakugan struggling to track Naruto's increasingly fast movements. In a desperate gambit, Neji managed to land a palm strike directly over Naruto's heart. For an instant, everything stilled. The crowd held its breath. Neji's triumphant smirk began to form, then faltered as Naruto remained standing. How? Neji demanded, genuine shock in his voice. Naruto looked down at the hand still pressed against his chest. Because some power comes from outside destiny's reach. He grabbed Neji's arm and hurled him skyward, then leapt to meet him at the apex of his trajectory. With a double-handed strike, Naruto sent the Hyuga prodigy crashing back to earth, creating a crater in the arena floor. When the dust settled, Neji lay unable to move, staring up at the sky with wide eyes. Naruto landed beside him, the golden aura fading as he regained control. A bird can choose to remain in its cage, Naruto said quietly, or it can break free. The mark of your clan doesn't define your fate, Neji. Only you can do that. Genma approached, checking Neji's condition before raising his hand. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. The crowd erupted in cheers, though many spectators looked confused or concerned about what they just witnessed. As medical ninja came to assist Neji, Naruto made his way back to the competitor's box, where Shikamaru regarded him with new respect. Troublesome, the Nara genius commented. You've been holding back during all our academy days, haven't you? Naruto grinned. Not exactly. Let's just say I've had some recent developments. In the Hokage's box, the third breathed a sigh of relief. He maintained control. Impressive. The disguised Orochimaru's eyes gleamed with scientific interest. Indeed. Most impressive. The next match was supposed to be Sasuke vs Gaara, but with the Uchiha still absent, they moved to Shino vs Kankuro. To everyone's surprise, Kankuro forfeited before the match began. Suspicious, Naruto muttered to Shikamaru. Why enter the finals just to forfeit? Something's off, Shikamaru agreed. The Sand Ninja have been acting strange since we arrived. The subsequent match pitted Shikamaru against Temari. Despite the Nara's brilliant strategy, he ultimately forfeited after capturing Temari in his shadow, claiming insufficient chakra to continue, though Naruto suspected laziness rather than exhaustion was the true reason. Finally, Genma announced that Sasuke's match would be delayed no longer. If he didn't appear immediately, he would be disqualified. Just as Genma raised his hand to make the disqualification official, a swirl of leaves appeared in the center of the arena. When it cleared, Sasuke stood back-to-back with Kakashi, both looking entirely unapologetic about their dramatic entrance. "Sorry we're late," Kakashi offered casually. "We got lost on the road of life." The crowd roared with excitement at the last Uchiha's appearance. Sasuke's appearance had changed, he now wore black attire with his arms wrapped in bandages, and his expression was even more intense than usual. As Kakashi made his way to the stands, he paused beside Naruto. "Be alert," he murmured. "Something doesn't feel right." Before Naruto could ask what he meant, Gaara descended to the arena in a swirl of sand, his emotionless eyes fixed on Sasuke with predatory intent. The match began with explosive intensity. Sasuke, clearly having trained extensively with Kakashi, displayed speed reminiscent of Rock Lee's, managing to penetrate Gaara's sand defense for the first time in the Chunin ninja's life. When Sasuke's fist connected with Gaara's face, drawing blood, an unnatural silence fell over the arena. Gaara looked at his own blood with disbelief that quickly morphed into manic excitement. "Mother wants your blood, Uchiha," he screamed, encasing himself in a sphere of sand. Sasuke attempted various attacks against the sphere without success. Finally, he leapt up the arena wall, forming hand seals before gripping his wrist. Chakra coalesced into visible electricity around his hand, the Chidori, Kakashi's signature technique. As Sasuke charged down the wall toward the sand sphere, kunai suddenly flew from multiple points in the stands. At the same moment, white feathers began falling throughout the arena, a genjutsu taking effect as many spectators slumped into forced sleep. Kai. Naruto dispelled the genjutsu immediately, as did most of the ninja present. Fighting erupted in the stands as sand and sound ninja revealed themselves, attacking Konoha forces. "An invasion," someone shouted. In the Hokage's box, the Kazekage revealed himself as Orochimaru, taking the third hostage and leaping to the roof where a barrier jutsu quickly formed around them. Chaos descended upon the arena. Jonin engaged enemy forces while trying to evacuate civilians. Genin were ordered to assist with evacuation or support defensive positions. Amidst the confusion, Naruto saw Gaara's sand sphere crack open. The redhead emerged, partially transformed, with sand forming a grotesque arm and half his face resembling some kind of tanuki. Gaara. Temari and Kankuro landed beside their brother. "The plan has started. We need to retreat." Gaara clutched his head in apparent pain. "No. I must kill the Uchiha. I must prove my existence." He lashed out with his sand arm, catching Sasuke off guard and slamming him against the arena wall. Sasuke coughed blood but struggled back to his feet, Sharingan blazing. "Sasuke." Naruto leapt down to the arena floor. "This is bigger than the exam. The village is under attack." "Stay out of this," Sasuke growled. "This is my fight." Before they could argue further, a massive explosion rocked the village perimeter. Through the dust, an enormous three-headed snake became visible, crashing through Konoha's protective wall. Kakashi appeared beside them, dispatching a sound ninja with casual efficiency. "Sasuke, Naruto, new mission." Gaara appears to be a Jinchuriki on the verge of transformation. He must be stopped before he reaches full manifestation. Pursue and neutralize this threat. "What about you, sensei?" Naruto asked. "I'm needed here to protect the civilians." Kakashi's eye crinkled slightly. "I'm trusting you both with this. Sakura will accompany you as support." As if summoned by her name, Sakura landed nearby, kunai in hand and determination on her face. "I've already sent word to the evacuation teams. I'm ready. Gaara's siblings are escorting him toward the forest, Sasuke reported, Sharingan tracking their movement. We should move now. The 3 genin of Team 7 pursued the Sand siblings into the forest surrounding Konoha. Sasuke took point, his Sharingan allowing him to follow their trail while watching for traps. Naruto, Sakura said quietly as they leapt from branch to branch, what happened during your match with Neji? That golden energy. Naruto had been expecting this question since the preliminaries. It's complicated, Sakura-chan. Basically, I have 2 types of energy, regular chakra and something else my bloodline gives me access to. Bloodline? Sasuke asked sharply, glancing back. You never mentioned a Kekii Genkai. It's not exactly a Kekii Genkai, Naruto hedged. More like. I inherited certain traits from my biological father. Who was he? Sakura pressed. Before Naruto could decide how much to reveal, Sasuke raised his hand for silence. They've stopped moving. Kankuro has stayed behind, likely as a rear guard. I'll handle him, Sakura said unexpectedly. Both her teammates looked at her with surprise. She met their gaze with newfound confidence. I'm tired of being protected. I can delay him while you 2 go after Gaara. After a brief hesitation, Sasuke nodded. Be careful. They split up, with Sakura dropping to intercept Kankuro while Naruto and Sasuke continued pursuit. They hadn't gone far when Temari attempted an ambush, unleashing her wind techniques to create a slicing maelstrom. Go! Sasuke called to Naruto as he engaged Temari. Gaara is the primary target. I'll catch up. Naruto pressed forward alone, the sounds of combat fading behind him. He soon found Gaara perched on a massive branch, clutching his head in apparent agony. The transformation had progressed further, most of his upper body now covered in sand shaped like the tanuki, with blue veins pulsing beneath. Gaara! Naruto called, landing on a branch opposite him. This has to stop. Your village is throwing lives away for nothing. Gaara's head snapped up, his eyes a mixture of teal, similar to Naruto's when using ki, and the gold and black of Shikaku. Uzumaki. He growled, his voice distorted. Mother says your blood will be especially satisfying. You're like me, but different. I am like you, Naruto agreed, trying a different approach. I know what it's like to have something sealed inside you. To be feared and hated for what you contain rather than who you are. For a moment, something human flickered in Gaara's eyes. You are a Jinchuriki. Naruto nodded. The 9 tails. But that's not all I am, and the beast isn't all you are either, Gaara. Lies. Gaara roared, the moment of connection shattered. I exist only to kill. My purpose is to love only myself and prove my existence by erasing others. He launched a barrage of sand projectiles that Naruto barely evaded. One grazed his cheek, drawing blood that sizzled where it touched the sand. Your blood, it's different, Gaara observed, suddenly more focused. What are you? The question struck deeper than Gaara could know. What was he? Jinchuriki? Scion? Human? All 3. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, he answered finally. Ninja of Konoha, future Hokage, and protector of my precious people. That's who I choose to be, regardless of what's sealed inside me or what blood runs in my veins. Gaara's face contorted with rage. Precious people. They make you weak. Only by living for yourself can you be truly strong. You're wrong, Naruto countered. Real strength comes from protecting others. It gives you something worth fighting for, worth dying for. Then die for them. Gaara screeched, fully transforming into a miniature version of Shikaku, though still only a fraction of the beast's true size. The tanuki-formed Gaara launched himself at Naruto with surprising speed. Naruto channeled ki to enhance his reflexes, sidestepping the initial charge and countering with a kick that sent Gaara crashing through several branches. In the village, the battle raged on multiple fronts. The third Hokage faced Orochimaru within a barrier created by the Sound Four, while Konoha Ninja fought desperately against the invading forces. From their observation post, Commander Shirai and her DBA agents monitored the unfolding chaos with particular focus on the forest where Naruto had pursued Gaara. Energy signatures are spiking in Sector 7, a technician reported. The Shikaku vessel is partially manifested, but there's another power rising to meet it. Shirai studied the readouts with concern. The Uzumaki boy? Yes, Commander. His signature is fluctuating between standard chakra patterns and the anomalous energy we've classified as ki. The interaction between these energies and the Nine-Tails chakra creates unique resonance patterns. How close are we to a dimensional breach? The technician adjusted his instruments. At current levels, containable. But if either Jinchuriki fully manifests their tailed beast, or if the Uzumaki subject transforms beyond his current state. Shirai's expression hardened. Prepare the containment team. If dimensional integrity is threatened, we move to secure the anomalies, by any means necessary. Back in the forest, Naruto found himself on the defensive. Gaara's sand attacks had become more powerful and varied, supplemented by the partial manifestation of Shikaku's abilities. Massive sand claws swiped at Naruto, while bullets of compressed sand peppered his position. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto created a dozen clones that scattered through the trees, drawing Gaara's fire while the real Naruto circled behind. Pathetic. Gaara roared, easily dispatching the clones. Is this the strength your precious people give you? Show me your real power, Uzumaki. Naruto attacked from behind, landing a solid kick that cracked Gaara's sand armor. The redhead whirled, catching Naruto with a sand tendril and slamming him through several trees. Pain exploded across Naruto's body as he crashed through wood and finally impacted against a massive trunk. The collision would have killed an ordinary genin, but Naruto's scion physiology absorbed much of the damage. Still, he tasted blood as he struggled to his feet. Is that all? Gaara taunted, approaching through the splintered trees. Perhaps I should find your precious people and crush them while you watch. The pink-haired girl first, I think. Something cold settled in Naruto's stomach. What did you say? I'll kill them all, Gaara continued, his transformed face splitting in a manic grin. Slowly. Painfully. Starting with your teammates. As if on cue, Sasuke landed beside Naruto, breathing heavily with his Sharingan deactivated, clearly low on chakra. He's too strong for normal techniques, Sasuke reported grimly. Temari said he's never been injured before today. The sand automatically protects him. Where's Sakura? Naruto demanded. She defeated Kankuro but was injured. I left her with the Konoha reinforcements that were heading this way. Sasuke's eyes narrowed as he assessed Gaara's transformation. We need to end this quickly. I'll end it, all right, Gaara growled. Sand burial. The ground beneath them erupted as sand enveloped Sasuke before he could react, crushing his legs and torso. He screamed in pain as the pressure increased. Sasuke. Naruto lunged forward, only to be batted away by a massive sand paw. Watch helplessly, Gaara commanded, as I take the first of your precious people. The sand constricted further. Sasuke's scream cut off as he lost consciousness, blood seeping through the sand coffin. Something snapped inside Naruto. All the careful control techniques Jiraiya had taught him, all the meditation and balance exercises, none of it mattered in that moment. Rage, pure, primal, and overwhelming, surged through his body. The golden energy that had been simmering beneath the surface exploded outward in a blinding eruption that shattered nearby trees and sent Gaara tumbling backward. You will not hurt my friends. Naruto roared, his voice deepening to a register that seemed to shake the very air. The transformation was nothing like the controlled manifestations he'd achieved in training. This was raw, unbridled power. Naruto's hair stood upright, fluctuating between blonde and a more golden hue. His muscles bulged and defined themselves, tearing his orange jacket at the seams. Most dramatically, his eyes shifted fully to teal, burning with an inner light that promised retribution. This was the Ikari form, the wrathful state that merged Scion power with humanoid control, the precursor to the full Super Saiyan transformation. In the village, every sensor-type ninja froze as they detected the massive energy spike. The third Hokage, even while battling Orochimaru, turned toward the forest with wide eyes. "Naruto," he whispered. The DBA monitoring station erupted in alarms. Technicians scrambled to adjust equipment as readings went off the scale. "Dimensional resonance at critical levels," someone shouted. "Pattern matching confirmed, it's identical to the Broly incident." Commander Shirai grabbed her communicator. "All units converge on the forest quadrant. Containment Protocol Alpha is now in effect." Gaara stared at the transformed Naruto with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. "Yes. This is what I've waited for. Show me that your existence is stronger than mine." The sand around Sasuke loosened slightly as Gaara's attention shifted. It was enough for Naruto to blur forward with unprecedented speed, slamming a fist into Gaara's midsection with such force that the sand armor shattered completely. Gaara flew backward, crashing through multiple trees before embedding in a cliff face nearly half a kilometer away. Naruto was on him again before the dust settled, delivering a barrage of punches that continued to shred the sand defenses. Each impact created shockwaves that rippled through the surrounding forest, toppling trees and sending wildlife fleeing in terror. "Is this what you wanted?" Naruto growled, his voice barely recognizable. "Is this the proof of existence you were looking for?" For the first time in his life, Gaara felt fear, true, primal fear. The sand struggled to keep up with Naruto's attacks, reforming seconds too slow to prevent the next devastating blow. Blood, his blood, splattered with each successful hit. "What are you?" Gaara gasped between blows. Something about the question penetrated Naruto's rage-induced state. He paused, fist cocked back for another strike, and saw genuine terror in Gaara's eyes, the same terror he'd seen in villagers' eyes when they looked at him as the Ninetales Jinchuriki. Was this who he wanted to be? A source of fear rather than respect? The hesitation gave Gaara an opening. "Sand tsunami," he cried, summoning a massive wave of sand that engulfed Naruto and half the surrounding forest. Under the crushing weight, Naruto struggled to breathe. The pressure was immense, far beyond what normal human bones could withstand. But he wasn't fully human, was he? The thought crystallized something within him, not a rejection of his dual heritage, but an acceptance of both aspects. The Ninetales chakra responded to his need, intermingling with his ki in a way it never had before. Red chakra bubbled around him, forming a protective fox-shaped shroud with a single tail, while the golden aura of his Ikari form intensified. The combined energies repelled the sand, creating a sphere of swirling red and gold that expanded outward with explosive force. When the dust settled, Naruto stood at the center of a massive crater, his appearance more frightening than ever, the golden aura of the Ikari form now interlaced with the Ninetales red chakra, creating an orange-gold effect. His eyes had changed again, the teal now slitted like a fox's. "I understand now," Naruto said, his voice echoing strangely with dual tones. "You and I are the same, Gaara. Both vessels for powers beyond our understanding. Both feared and isolated. But where you chose to embrace only yourself, I found people who acknowledged me." Gaara, his sand armor nearly depleted, stared in disbelief. "Such power, and yet you waste it protecting others?" "It's not waste," Naruto countered, approaching slowly. "It's purpose. You've been alone so long you've forgotten what it means to connect with others. Your father tried to have you killed, your village fears you, even your siblings can't look at you without terror." Gaara flinched at these truths. "But it doesn't have to stay that way," Naruto continued, his voice softening slightly despite its inhuman quality. "You can choose a different path." "How?" Gaara's voice cracked, suddenly sounding like the 12-year-old boy he actually was beneath the monster everyone feared. How do you endure the loneliness? By finding people who see beyond the monster, Naruto answered. By becoming someone worthy of their faith in you. The fight seemed to drain out of Gaara. The sand fell away, revealing a battered, exhausted boy with pain-filled eyes. I don't know how. Then let me show you, Naruto offered, extending his hand. Starting by sparing your life, as you will spare my friends. A tense moment passed between them. Then, hesitantly, Gaara nodded. The combined energies around Naruto began to recede as his rage subsided. The golden aura flickered and faded first, followed by the Ninetales chakra shroud. His eyes returned to their normal blue, though flecks of teal remained visible if one looked closely. The physical toll hit him immediately. Naruto staggered, dropping to one knee as exhaustion overwhelmed him. The Ikari transformation, especially combined with the Ninetales chakra, had pushed his body beyond its current limits. Naruto. Sasuke appeared at the edge of the crater, limping badly but alive. Behind him came Temari and Kankuro, watching the scene with undisguised awe. Gaara. Temari approached cautiously. Are you, okay? Gaara looked at his siblings with new eyes, seeing for the first time the concern beneath their fear. I'm tired, Temari, he admitted softly. So tired of being alone. Something vulnerable passed between the Sand siblings, a moment of genuine connection perhaps never before experienced. Sasuke reached Naruto, helping him stand. You look like hell, the Uchiha commented, though the concern in his voice belied the casual words. You're welcome for saving your life, Naruto replied with a weak grin. Their moment was interrupted by the arrival of a squad of masked ninja, not ANBU, but DBA operatives in their gray uniforms. Step away from Uzumaki, Naruto, ordered their leader, a tall woman with calculating eyes. Commander Jiraiya surveyed the destruction with clinical detachment. He is being detained under Dimensional Anomaly Protocol. What? Sasuke stepped protectively in front of Naruto. On whose authority? By order of the Special Containment Division, Jiraiya replied. The energy discharge from this location threatened dimensional stability. Both Jinchuriki are to be secured immediately. Wait, Naruto protested weakly. I controlled it. There was no breach. This time, Jiraiya acknowledged. But the readings suggest your next transformation might not be so contained. Our mandate is prevention, not reaction. Before the standoff could escalate, a new presence made itself known. Jiraiya landed between the DBA agents and the genin, his normally jovial expression replaced with steely resolve. Commander Jiraiya, the Sannin greeted coldly. Overstepping your jurisdiction again, I see. Jiraiya didn't back down. Lord Jiraiya. This is a dimensional security matter, not a village concern. The boy is my student and a ninja of Konoha, Jiraiya countered. Any concerns about his abilities should be addressed through proper channels, meaning the Hokage, not your shadow organization. The tension crackled between them. Finally, Jiraiya signaled her team to stand down. This isn't over. The DBA's mandate comes from the Fire Daimyo himself. If the Uzumaki subject presents further dimensional threat, not even you can intervene. With that warning, the DBA operatives vanished as suddenly as they'd appeared. Jiraiya turned to the exhausted genin. The invasion has been repelled, but at great cost. We need to return to the village immediately. What about them? Naruto gestured toward the Sand siblings. The Kazekage, the real one, was found murdered weeks ago. Your friend Gaara and his siblings were as much pawns in Orochimaru's game as anyone. Jiraiya's expression darkened. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the third Hokage. The old man. Naruto's stomach dropped. Is he? Jiraiya's silence was answer enough. Konoha grieved under rain that seemed to mirror the village's sorrow. The funeral for the third Hokage and those who fell defending the village was attended by every ninja and civilian able to walk. They stood in solemn rows, each placing a white flower upon the memorial as they passed. Naruto stood between Sasuke and Sakura, his heart heavy. The third had been the closest thing to a grandfather he'd ever known, one of the first people to acknowledge him as Naruto rather than as the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Losing him felt like losing a foundation stone in his life. He died as he lived, Jiraiya said quietly, standing behind his former students' team. Protecting the village and the next generation. After the ceremony, the village council convened to address the leadership vacuum and begin recovery efforts. Without a Hokage, Konoha was vulnerable to further attacks. Jiraiya, as one of the legendary Sannin, was the obvious choice for succession, but he had already made his reluctance clear. While the adults debated Konoha's future, Naruto found himself sitting atop the Hokage monument, specifically on the stone head of the fourth Hokage. The irony wasn't lost on him, seeking comfort from the carved likeness of the man who had sealed the nine tails inside him at birth. I thought I might find you here. Naruto turned to see Jiraiya approaching, looking uncharacteristically serious. The old man knew, didn't he? Naruto asked without preamble. About my father, my real father. About what I might become. Jiraiya sat beside him, gazing out over the village. Hiruzen knew more than most. He was there the night the pod crashed. He was the one who decided to give you a chance at a normal life rather than treating you as a potential weapon or threat. Even with the nine tails sealed inside me. That wasn't exactly setting me up for normality. The fourth believed the nine tails chakra might actually help stabilize your alien energy, Jiraiya explained. From what little we understood of Scion physiology, your race's power responds primarily to rage and battle damage. The nine tails chakra, which also responds to emotional triggers, creates a sort of counterbalance. Naruto considered this. So when I used both energies against Gaara, you accessed a level of power beyond what either source could provide alone, Jiraiya confirmed. But at great risk. The DBA isn't entirely wrong to be concerned, Naruto. The full extent of a Scion's potential remains unknown in our dimension. This DBA, Naruto said, what exactly are they? The Dimensional Boundary Authority. They were formed after the first confirmed dimensional breach 15 years ago, when your biological father briefly appeared in our world during a battle with another Scion. Naruto's eyes widened. Broly was actually here. In Konoha? Not Konoha specifically. The breach occurred over the sea between Fire Country and Lightning Country. Witnesses described two warriors with golden hair trading blows that shattered the very sky. One of them, presumably Broly, was on the losing end of the battle when a third figure appeared and all three vanished back to their dimension. And my pod arrived shortly after. Jiraiya nodded. The leading theory is that someone from your dimension, perhaps even your biological mother, sent you here for protection during whatever conflict was occurring there. Naruto absorbed this information silently, watching clouds drift over Konoha's damaged but still standing structures. People moved through the streets below, rebuilding what was destroyed, healing what was wounded. These people, he said finally, this village, it's my home. Whatever I was born as, wherever I came from, this is where I belong now. I never doubted that, Jiraiya said with a small smile. Neither did the third. So what happens now? With the village, with the DBA, with me? The village rebuilds. The council is sending me to find Tsunade, the third member of the Sannin, to become the fifth Hokage. Jiraiya's smile turned sly. And I'm taking you with me. Me? Why? Because you need more intensive training after what happened in the forest. The Ikari form you accessed is just the beginning of a Scion's transformation potential. Without proper guidance, your next emotional trigger could result in something far more explosive. Naruto winced, remembering the raw power that had surged through him when he thought Sasuke was dying. When do we leave? Tomorrow morning. Pack for a few weeks of travel. Jiraiya stood, stretching. And Naruto? I'd keep the details of your heritage quiet for now. Not everyone would be as understanding as your teammates. After Jiraiya departed, Naruto remained on the monument until sunset, watching his village transition from day to evening. Lights came on in windows, children were called home for dinner, and despite the damages, life continued. Whatever he was, Jinchuriki, Saiyan, or just Naruto, his path was here, protecting these people and this place. The power awakening within him would serve that purpose, not define or control him. As night fell completely, Naruto made his way down from the monument. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for tonight, he had teammates to check on and ramen to eat. The journey with Jiraiya began at dawn, with Naruto surprisingly energetic despite the early hour. The prospect of learning to better control his emerging abilities outweighed his usual morning sluggishness. "So where exactly is Tsunade?" he asked as they passed through Konoha's gates. "Last reports placed her in Tenzaku town," Jiraiya replied. "But given her habits, she rarely stays in one place long. We'll likely have to track her through several gambling establishments." "Gambling? The future Hokage has a gambling problem?" Jiraiya chuckled. "Tsunade has many exceptional qualities: unparalleled medical ninjutsu, monstrous strength, brilliant tactical mind. Unfortunately, financial responsibility isn't among them." As they traveled, Jiraiya outlined a training regimen designed to help Naruto better understand and control his dual energy sources. The key difference between chakra and ki, he explained as they walked, is that chakra requires specific molding and hand signs, while ki responds primarily to will and emotion. This makes ki both more versatile and more dangerous. It can spike unexpectedly with emotional triggers. "Like when I thought Sasuke was going to die," Naruto noted grimly. "Exactly. Your Saiyan heritage gives you access to tremendous power, but it's tied to your emotional state. The Ikari form you achieved is a transition state, not yet a full Super Saiyan transformation, but beyond normal human capabilities." "Could I become a full Super Saiyan?" Naruto asked, both excited and apprehensive at the prospect. Jiraiya's expression turned serious. "Based on the limited information we have about Saiyans, yes, but the trigger would likely be catastrophic trauma or rage beyond what you've experienced so far. And the power unleashed might be more than our dimension can safely contain." They stopped at a clearing beside a river to begin practical training. Jiraiya instructed Naruto to sit in a meditation pose. "Close your eyes and visualize your internal energy sources," the Sannin directed. "Don't try to access them yet, just observe." Naruto complied, turning his awareness inward. After several minutes of concentration, he could sense 3 distinct energy patterns: his own blue chakra flowing through established pathways, the Ninetails red chakra contained behind the seal but occasionally leaking through, and deeper still, a golden energy that seemed to suffuse his very cells rather than flowing through channels. "I can see them," he reported. "The ki doesn't flow like chakra does, it's more like it's part of my body itself." "Good observation," Jiraiya approved. "Ki is fundamentally tied to life force in a way that chakra isn't. Now, try to draw on a small amount of ki without using chakra." This proved challenging. Whenever Naruto attempted to access ki directly, his chakra automatically rose to join it. After several frustrating attempts, Jiraiya suggested a different approach. "Don't try to separate them, instead, focus on the harmony between them. Think of them as complementary forces rather than competing ones." With this perspective, Naruto found more success. By visualizing his energies as instruments in an orchestra rather than opposing forces, he managed to create a controlled aura of golden light that surrounded his body without the chaotic discharge that had characterized his previous transformations. "Excellent," Jiraiya noted. "The goal isn't to suppress either energy, but to achieve conscious control over both simultaneously." Their training continued for several days as they traveled, with Naruto making steady progress. He learned to channel ki into focused bursts that enhanced his physical abilities, and to combine it with chakra for more powerful ninjutsu. The shadow clone technique, in particular, benefited from this combination, creating clones with enhanced durability and strength. In the evenings, Jiraiya shared what little information the ninja world had gathered about Xyos and their abilities. According to witnesses of the dimensional breach, Xyos can fly without using chakra, Jiraiya explained over dinner one night. They project ki beneath them in a way that counteracts gravity. Fly. Naruto's eyes widened with excitement. Without wings or anything. That would be amazing. It would also immediately identify you as something other than a normal shinobi, Jiraiya cautioned. Some abilities might be better kept in reserve for true emergencies. After a week of travel and training, they reached Tenzaku Town, a bustling center of commerce and entertainment known for its castle and gambling dens. Almost immediately, Jiraiya began collecting information on Tsunade's whereabouts by flirting with various hostesses and waitresses. Shameless old pervert, Naruto muttered as Jiraiya disappeared into yet another establishment with a giggling woman on each arm. Some mentor. Left to his own devices, Naruto explored the town, eventually finding himself in a small park where children played. He sat on a bench, watching their carefree games with a mixture of envy and nostalgia. His own childhood had been marked by isolation and rejection, though now he understood that the villagers' fear had been directed at both the nine tails within him and the unknown alien heritage that occasionally manifested in unexplainable ways. "You're not from around here." Naruto turned to find a woman watching him from a few meters away. She wore civilian clothes, but her posture and alert eyes marked her as trained, likely a ninja operating undercover. "Just passing through," Naruto replied carefully. "With my sensei." The woman approached, sitting beside him on the bench. "I recognize chakra signatures for a living, kid. Yours doesn't make any sense." Naruto tensed, preparing for a potential confrontation. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Relax. If I wanted trouble, we wouldn't be having this conversation." She extended her hand. Mitsuha Kano, Sensory Division Liaison to the DBA. Naruto reluctantly shook her hand. "You're with Commander Shirai." "I report to her, yes, but I'm not one of her zealots." Mitsuha studied him openly. "You're quite the topic of interest in certain circles, Naruto Uzumaki. The Jinchuriki with energy patterns that don't match any known chakra type." "What do you want from me?" Naruto asked bluntly. "Information, mostly. The DBA's primary mandate is to understand and maintain dimensional boundaries. Your energy signature suggests a connection to another dimension, yet you're fully integrated into this one. So I'm what, a science experiment to you people?" Mitsuha sighed. "To some, yes. Shirai sees everything in terms of threats and assets. But others of us are more interested in understanding." "Understanding what?" "Why certain dimensions connect. How energy transfers between them. Whether beings from different dimensional planes can coexist permanently." She gestured to the children playing nearby. "You seem perfectly adapted to our world, despite your origins. That challenges some fundamental assumptions about dimensional compatibility." Naruto considered this perspective. "I didn't ask to be born half scion or to be sent to this dimension. Few of us choose our circumstances," Mitsuha agreed. "But we do choose how we respond to them." She stood, handing Naruto a small scroll. "If you ever want to understand more about your heritage, or if Shirai's people become too aggressive in their containment efforts, contact me." She walked away, disappearing into the crowd before Naruto could respond. He examined the scroll, finding it contained a simple communication seal, a method to send short messages across distances. When Jiraiya eventually returned, Naruto debated whether to mention the encounter. Deciding transparency was best, he described meeting Mitsuha and showed the scroll. Jiraiya's expression darkened as he examined it. "The DBA is more organized than I realized if they've tracked us here. This communication seal is genuine, but I'd be careful about using it. Information flows both ways through such connections." "Do you think she was being honest about wanting to understand rather than contain?" "Possible. The DBA isn't monolithic, like any organization, it has internal factions with different approaches. Jiraiya handed the scroll back. Keep it if you want, but don't volunteer any information that could be used against you. That evening, they finally located Tsunade in a small gambling den on the outskirts of town. The legendary medical ninja sat at a dice table, a small mountain of lost currency beside her and a half-empty sake bottle in her hand. Despite her apparent inebriation, she spotted Jiraiya immediately. "Well, if it isn't the Toad Sage," she called, her words slightly slurred. "What disaster brings you crawling to me this time? Can't an old teammate visit without an ulterior motive?" Jiraiya replied with feigned innocence. "Not you." Tsunade's sharp eyes shifted to Naruto. "And who's the brat?" "New apprentice." "Naruto Uzumaki," Jiraiya introduced. "And yes, my current student." Recognition flashed across Tsunade's face. "Uzumaki." She scrutinized Naruto more carefully. "Interesting choice." A dark-haired woman holding a small pig appeared beside Tsunade. "Lady Tsunade, perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere more private?" "Fine, Shizun." Tsunade downed the remainder of her sake and stood. "There's a tea house 2 streets over. Meet us there in 10 minutes. I need to collect my winnings first." Shizun's expression suggested that winnings was an optimistic term for whatever Tsunade would be collecting. The tea house was quiet and dimly lit, perfect for a sensitive conversation. Once seated in a private room with fresh tea and dango, Jiraiya dispensed with pleasantries. "Orochimaru attacked Konoha during the Chunin Exams," he stated bluntly. "The third is dead." Tsunade's sake cup paused halfway to her lips. For a moment, genuine grief flickered across her face before she mastered it. So the old man finally ran out of tricks. She took a long drink. "I assume this isn't just a courtesy notification. The village needs a Hokage. The council has nominated you." Tsunade barked a harsh laugh. "Me? Hokage? That position is a fool's errand, a one-way ticket to an early grave. First my grandfather, then my granduncle, then my teacher. I'm not interested in continuing that tradition." Naruto, who had been quietly observing, could no longer contain himself. "How can you talk that way about the position of Hokage? It's the greatest honor a ninja of the village could achieve." Tsunade regarded him with cool amusement. "Honor doesn't stop kunai, kid. The Hokage is just a target with a fancy hat." The old man didn't think that way, Naruto countered, anger building. He believed protecting the village was worth any sacrifice. And look where that got him. Tsunade's voice turned bitter. "Dead, like everyone else who wore that title, leaving others to clean up the mess." Jiraiya intervened before Naruto's rising emotion could trigger his ki. "There's more at stake than just the Hokage position, Tsunade. Orochimaru is moving openly now, and intelligence suggests he's not alone. The Akatsuki organization has begun hunting Jinchuriki." This captured Tsunade's full attention. "For what purpose?" "Unknown, but nothing good. And there's a new wrinkle." Jiraiya nodded toward Naruto. "Our young friend here has recently manifested abilities that suggest his heritage is more complex than previously believed." Tsunade's eyes narrowed as she studied Naruto more carefully. "The dimensional anomaly the third wrote to me about years ago? I assumed that project was contained." "I'm not a project," Naruto said tersely. "And I'm right here." "Yes, you are." Tsunade leaned forward, medical curiosity overtaking her apathy. "A Jinchuriki with extradimensional DNA. Fascinating combination. Have you experienced full transformation yet?" "Once," Naruto admitted. "During the invasion. It was intense." "That's putting it mildly," Jiraiya added. "He accessed what appears to be an intermediate scion form called Ikari. The energy discharge was detected by sensors across Fire Country. Tsunade whistled softly. No wonder the DBA is watching you. At Naruto's surprised expression, she smiled thinly. Yes, I know about them. The Sannin were briefed after the first dimensional breach. Standard protocol for potential extinction-level threats. I'm not a threat, Naruto insisted. I'm a ninja of Konoha, just like you. Are you? Tsunade challenged. Because from where I'm sitting, you're a walking dimensional breach waiting to happen. The kind of power you're playing with doesn't belong in our world, kid. Naruto's fists clenched, golden energy flickering briefly around them before he regained control. I didn't ask for this power, but it's mine now. And I intend to use it to protect my village and my precious people, including you, if you become Hokage. Tsunade stared at him, something shifting in her expression. You remind me of someone, she said quietly. My brother, Nawaki. He had the same stupid dream about becoming Hokage. He died before his 13th birthday. The table fell silent. Finally, Jiraiya spoke. The council has given me 3 days to secure your answer, Tsunade. Think about it. The village needs leadership now more than ever. I'll think about it, she conceded reluctantly. But don't expect miracles. As they prepared to leave, Tsunade addressed Naruto directly. Kid. If you're serious about controlling that power, meet me tomorrow at dawn outside the eastern gate. Bring whatever you need for intense physical training. Naruto nodded, surprised but determined. I'll be there. True to her word, Tsunade was waiting when Naruto arrived at the eastern gate the following morning. She led him to a secluded valley several miles from town, ideal for training that might cause significant environmental damage. Jiraiya says you've been working on balancing your chakra and ki, she began without preamble. Show me. Naruto demonstrated his progress, creating the controlled aura they'd been practicing. Tsunade circled him slowly, her medical expertise allowing her to perceive energy patterns invisible to normal observers. Interesting, she murmured. The Ninetails chakra creates a natural counterbalance to the ki. They're antagonistic energies, yet they don't fully negate each other. Is that good or bad? Naruto asked. Both. It prevents either energy from completely overwhelming your system, but it also creates potential instability during high-stress situations. She paused her examination. The full Ikari form you accessed, described the trigger. Naruto recounted the battle with Gaara, particularly the moment when he believed Sasuke would be killed. It felt like something shattered inside me. All the control techniques just disappeared. Tsunade nodded. Typical berserker response. The Scion race evolved as warrior species, their biology is designed to maximize combat potential, especially in life-or-death situations. How do you know so much about Scions? Naruto asked curiously. After the first dimensional breach, I was part of the medical team that studied the limited physical evidence left behind, blood samples, energy residue patterns. Tsunade's expression turned grim. What we found was disturbing. A humanoid species with cellular structure designed for continuous adaptation and power escalation. Theoretically, there's no upper limit to a Scion's potential strength. But that's good, right? It means I can keep getting stronger. It means you're potentially incompatible with our dimensional physics, Tsunade corrected. There's a reason stable dimensions have power ceilings, Naruto. Unchecked energy growth can literally tear reality apart. The gravity of this statement silenced Naruto momentarily. So what do I do? Suppress my Scion side completely? Not possible without killing you. It's encoded in your cellular structure. Tsunade adopted a more practical tone. Instead, we need to create conscious pathways for your ki that don't rely on emotional triggers. Medical ninjutsu principles might help. For the next several hours, Tsunade guided Naruto through exercises derived from medical chakra control. Unlike Jiraiya's approach, which focused on harmonizing the energies, Tsunade's method involved creating distinct mental circuits for each energy type. Think of it like separate irrigation channels, she explained. Even during a flood, properly constructed channels will direct water where you want it to go. By midday, Naruto had made notable progress. He could now access his ki without automatically drawing on chakra, and vice versa. This separation allowed for more precise control of each energy source. During a break, Tsunade broached a subject that had clearly been on her mind. The DBA considers you a dimensional anomaly, a potential breach point. What do you know about them? Naruto described his encounters with Commander Shirai and Mitsuhakano, including the communication scroll he'd received. Jiraiya-sensei said they're not all bad, but some see me as a threat to be contained. Shirai certainly does, Tsunade confirmed. She was a young researcher during the first breach. Witnessed firsthand what happens when beings with power levels like your father's enter our dimension. What does happen? Reality fractures. Physical laws begin to break down. The dimensional membrane that separates worlds thins dangerously. Tsunade's expression was serious. Your existence is somewhat stable because you were born here, or at least arrived as an infant before your powers developed. But a full-grown scion in battle rage? That's another story entirely. The implications weren't lost on Naruto. You think if I fully transform? I think we should avoid finding out, Tsunade said firmly. Which is why control techniques are so important. Their training resumed with renewed focus. By sunset, Naruto could maintain separation between his energy sources even while performing complex techniques. His shadow clones could now be created with pure chakra, pure ki, or a calibrated mixture of both. One more exercise before we finish, Tsunade announced as the light faded. I want to test your recovery capabilities. Without warning, she flicked Naruto's forehead with her finger, a simple gesture imbued with precise chakra control. The impact sent him flying backward, crashing through several trees before coming to rest nearly 50 meters away. Pain exploded across Naruto's body. The strike, while controlled, demonstrated Tsunade's monstrous strength. A normal genin would have been killed instantly. As he struggled to his feet, Naruto felt something unexpected. His ki was responding to the injury, but not with the uncontrolled surge he'd experienced during emotional triggers. Instead, it flowed methodically to the damaged areas, accelerating his already enhanced healing. Tsunade appeared beside him, monitoring the process with clinical interest. As I suspected. Scions don't just get stronger from battle, they actively heal and adapt to damage. Your cells are actually remodeling themselves to be more resilient against the specific type of impact I just delivered. Is that why I've always healed quickly? I thought it was the nine tails. It's both, Tsunade explained. The fox's chakra provides raw healing energy, but your scion physiology directs and enhances the process. Combined, they make you nearly impossible to kill through conventional means. This information should have been reassuring, but Naruto found it somewhat disturbing. How much of who he was came from these alien biological factors beyond his control? Sensing his discomfort, Tsunade added, biology isn't destiny, Naruto. Tools are defined by how they're used, not by their inherent properties. I'm not a tool, Naruto objected. Exactly my point. Tsunade smiled slightly. Your power doesn't define you, your choices do. Remember that. As they walked back toward town, Naruto finally asked the question that had been bothering him since their first meeting. Are you going to accept? Become the fifth Hokage? Tsunade was silent for several steps. I've spent years running from Konoha and everything it represents. After losing Dan and Nawaki, the village just held too many painful memories. But perhaps it's time to stop running. She glanced sideways at Naruto. Someone needs to keep an eye on you, after all. Can't have an interdimensional incident on my conscience. Naruto grinned. So that's a yes. I'm considering it, Tsunade corrected, though her tone had softened considerably from their first encounter. The following morning brought an unexpected development. Jiraiya burst into Naruto's room at the inn, his expression grim. "Pack your things," he ordered. "Tsunade's gone." "Gone?" Naruto sat up groggily. "What do you mean?" "She left town during the night. Shizune is missing too." Jiraiya paced the small room. "Something's wrong. This isn't like her, even at her most reluctant, she wouldn't just disappear without a word. Could she have just decided against becoming Hokage? Possibly, but my network picked up something else. Orochimaru was spotted in the area yesterday." Jiraiya's expression darkened. "And he wasn't alone. Reports mention a silver-haired young man with glasses." Kabuto, Naruto realized, remembering the seemingly friendly genin from the Chunin Exams who had later been revealed as Orochimaru's spy. "You think they approached Tsunade?" "I think they made her an offer." Jiraiya checked his equipment. Orochimaru was injured during his battle with the third, his arms sealed away by the Reaper death seal. If anyone could heal such damage, it would be Tsunade. But she wouldn't help him, would she? Jiraiya's expression was troubled. Tsunade has many strengths, but she also has vulnerabilities. Orochimaru has always been skilled at exploiting weaknesses. They departed immediately, following a trail that Jiraiya's toad summons had picked up. It led them to an abandoned castle outside a small village 30 miles from Tenzaku town. As they approached, the sounds of battle became audible, tremendous impacts and shattering stone. "Tsunade's fighting," Jiraiya noted grimly. "That's her strength technique." They crested a hill to find a battlefield of broken earth and shattered architecture. Tsunade stood at its center, facing off against Kabuto while Shizune lay unconscious nearby. Orochimaru watched from atop a ruined wall, his arms hanging uselessly at his sides. "Looks like she made her choice after all," Jiraiya observed with relief. "Stay alert, Naruto. Kabuto is more dangerous than he appears." They joined the battle, with Jiraiya immediately engaging Orochimaru while Naruto moved to assist Tsunade against Kabuto. The medical ninja proved remarkably resilient, using his chakra scalpel technique to target tendons and muscles with surgical precision. The Jinchuriki with the unusual chakra, Kabuto noted as he dodged Naruto's attacks. "Lord Orochimaru has been most interested in you since your display in the Forest of Death. Tell him to take a number," Naruto growled, creating shadow clones enhanced with ki. "Plenty of creeps are interested in me these days." Kabuto smiled thinly. "But only Lord Orochimaru can offer you true understanding of your power. The archives of Otogekyure contain information about dimensional travelers that even Konoha doesn't possess." The offer was clearly meant to be tempting, but Naruto wasn't swayed. "Not interested in help from snake freaks, thanks." The battle intensified as Kabuto revealed his trump card, the ability to generate chakra scalpels from any part of his body, making close combat extremely dangerous. Even with his enhanced healing, Naruto found himself accumulating injuries faster than they could repair. Tsunade, meanwhile, was fighting through a bizarre blood phobia that seemed to paralyze her whenever Kabuto bled. Despite this handicap, her monstrous strength made her a formidable opponent when she could land a blow. The tide turned when Kabuto managed to incapacitate Tsunade with a precise strike to her chest, disrupting her heart rhythm. As she collapsed, something inside Naruto snapped, not the uncontrolled rage that had triggered the Ikari form against Gaara, but a focused, purposeful anger. Drawing on the training from both Jiraiya and Tsunade, Naruto channeled his ki in a controlled burst that enveloped his body in a golden aura. His hair lifted slightly and his eyes shifted to teal, but he remained fully conscious and in control, a partial transformation that harnessed Saiyan power without surrendering to berserker rage. "You will not hurt her," Naruto stated, his voice deeper but steady. "This ends now." Kabuto's eyes widened at the transformation. "Fascinating. Not quite human chakra, is it? Lord Orochimaru will be most interested in studying this." "Study this," Naruto replied, forming a Rasengan in his right hand. Unlike his previous attempts at the technique, this version incorporated swirling ki energy alongside chakra, creating a sphere that pulsed with blue and gold light. Kabuto attempted to dodge, but Naruto's enhanced speed was too great. The Rasengan struck Kabuto's abdomen, the dual energies drilling through his defenses and sending him spinning backward into a stone wall with enough force to embed him in the masonry. With Kabuto temporarily incapacitated, Naruto rushed to Tsunade's side. Her heartbeat was erratic, but she was conscious enough to give him instructions on how to stabilize her condition using controlled chakra pulses. Nearby, Jiraiya's battle with Orochimaru had reached a stalemate. Without the use of his arms, the snake Sannin was limited to techniques that required no hand seals, relying primarily on his summons and physical abilities. "It seems we're at an impasse, old friend," Orochimaru hissed. "Another time, perhaps." His neck extended unnaturally, allowing him to grab the barely conscious Kabuto with his teeth before both vanished in a swirl of leaves. In the aftermath, Tsunade recovered quickly thanks to her exceptional medical abilities. She regarded Naruto with professional interest as the golden aura faded, leaving him exhausted but satisfied. "Controlled partial transformation," she noted. "Impressive progress." "I had good teachers," Naruto replied with a tired smile. Jiraiya joined them, looking battered but triumphant. "So, Tsunade. Have recent events clarified your thinking regarding the Hokage position?" Tsunade looked between her old teammate and the young genin who had fought so fiercely to protect her. Something in her expression softened, a decision visibly taking shape. "I suppose someone has to keep an eye on the village," she said with feigned reluctance. "Especially with interdimensional anomalies running around in orange jumpsuits." Naruto's face split in a wide grin. "Does that mean, yes, brat? I'll be the fifth Hokage." Tsunade flicked his forehead, though gently this time. "And my first order of business will be establishing proper protocols for managing special cases like you." As they prepared to return to Konoha, Naruto felt a strange sense of optimism despite the challenges ahead. The village would have a new Hokage. He was making progress with his unique abilities. And perhaps most importantly, he was beginning to understand that his dual heritage wasn't a curse, but a responsibility, one he was increasingly prepared to bear. "By the way," Tsunade added as they walked, "I received an interesting message from an old colleague in the research division. It seems the DBA isn't the only group interested in interdimensional phenomena." "What do you mean?" Naruto asked. "There's been increased activity in the monitoring stations along the northern border. Energy signatures similar to those recorded during the original breach 15 years ago." Tsunade's expression was carefully neutral. "It may be nothing. Or it may mean that the membrane between dimensions is thinning again. You think more scions could come through?" The prospect was both thrilling and terrifying. "I think," Tsunade said diplomatically, "that we should be prepared for all possibilities. Including the chance that you might not be the only one of your kind in this world for much longer." The implications of this statement accompanied them all the way back to Konoha, where a new chapter in the village's history, and in Naruto's understanding of his heritage, was about to begin. The return to Konoha with Tsunade was met with widespread relief and celebration. The village, still recovering from Orochimaru's attack, desperately needed the stability that a new Hokage would provide. The fact that the legendary medical ninja was taking the position offered hope that the physical and psychological wounds of the invasion could finally begin to heal properly. Tsunade's inauguration ceremony was brief but dignified. Standing atop the Hokage tower with the stone faces of her predecessors visible behind her, she addressed the gathered villagers and ninja with unexpected solemnity. "I accept this responsibility not because I sought it, but because Konoha's will of fire cannot be allowed to diminish," she declared. "In honoring those we have lost, we must also look to the future and the new challenges that await us." Her eyes briefly found Naruto in the crowd as she spoke of challenges, a subtle acknowledgement of the dimensions, literal and figurative, that now factored into Konoha's security considerations. Following the ceremony, life in the village began returning to a semblance of normalcy. Reconstruction accelerated under Tsunade's efficient organization. Missions resumed, though with greater caution regarding potential encounters with Orochimaru's forces or the mysterious Akatsuki organization. For Naruto, however, normalcy remained elusive. His training with both Jiraiya and Tsunade continued, now supplemented by sessions with a specialist from the barrier team who understood dimensional energy fluctuations. These lessons focused not just on controlling his power, but on minimizing its dimensional footprint, the degree to which his energy signatures might weaken the barriers between worlds. Think of it like chakra suppression techniques, the specialist explained during one session. But instead of masking your presence from sensors, you're containing the resonance patterns that ripple through dimensional boundaries. These techniques proved useful when, 3 weeks after Tsunade's installation as Hokage, the DBA made their move. Naruto was returning from a simple C-rank mission with Team 7 when they were intercepted at Konoha's gate by a squad of gray-uniformed operatives led by Commander Shirai herself. Uzumaki Naruto, she announced formally. By order of the Dimensional Boundary Authority, you are to surrender yourself for containment and evaluation. Recent energy disturbances have been traced to your unique signature, raising concerns about dimensional stability. Kakashi stepped protectively in front of his student. The Hokage has already addressed these concerns, Commander. Naruto remains under Konoha's jurisdiction. This matter supersedes village authority, Shirai countered. The Fire Daimyo himself has signed the containment order. A tense standoff ensued, with Sasuke and Sakura moving to flank Naruto while other Konoha ninja at the gate prepared for possible conflict. The situation might have escalated further if not for the timely arrival of Tsunade, accompanied by Jiraiya and several ANBU. Commander Shirai, Tsunade greeted coldly. Conducting operations in my village without proper clearance. Lady Hokage, Shirai acknowledged with minimal respect. The DBA's mandate comes directly from the Fire Daimyo. We operate independently of hidden village authority when dimensional security is at stake. And yet, Tsunade replied, producing a scroll bearing the Fire Daimyo's seal, I have here a more recent directive that specifically places all dimensional anomalies within Fire Country under joint supervision of the DBA and the Hokage. She smiled thinly. Signed yesterday, I believe. The courier must have passed you on the road. Shirai's expression tightened as she examined the document. This is unexpected. I can be very persuasive, Tsunade said pleasantly. Now, regarding Naruto Uzumaki. He will remain in Konoha under my supervision, with regular evaluations by a joint team of your specialists and mine. Any containment measures deemed necessary will be implemented here, not at your facilities. It was a compromise that clearly frustrated Shirai, but the legal authority of the new directive left her little choice. Very well. I'll assign personnel for the joint team immediately. But be warned, Lady Hokage, if Uzumaki's condition destabilizes or if he exhibits signs of triggering a dimensional breach, the original containment order will take precedence. After the DBA forces withdrew, Tsunade explained to a confused Naruto how she had negotiated the arrangement with the Fire Daimyo. He was actually quite reasonable once I explained that you're more valuable as a controlled asset than as a laboratory specimen, she said matter-of-factly. The compromise allows the DBA to monitor you while keeping you operational as a Konoha ninja. So I'm still free? Naruto asked, uncertain. As free as any ninja serving their village, Tsunade replied. But with some additional oversight. You'll need to report for weekly evaluations with the joint team, and any unusual energy manifestations must be immediately documented. It wasn't ideal, but it was far better than being confined in a DBA facility. Naruto accepted the conditions with relief, though the incident left him more aware than ever of his precarious position as both a Jinchuriki and a dimensional anomaly. The joint monitoring team established itself in a dedicated facility near the hospital. Its members included medical ninja specializing in chakra systems, DBA scientists with expertise in dimensional physics, and a surprisingly familiar face, Mitsuha Kano, the sensory specialist who had approached Naruto in Tenzaku Town. I told you Shirai could be overzealous, she remarked during Naruto's first evaluation session. This arrangement is much more productive for everyone. The evaluations themselves were non-invasive but thorough. Sensors measured his energy output during various exercises. Medical scans tracked how his unique physiology processed and channeled different energy types. Psychological assessments monitored his emotional stability and response to various triggers. Your control is improving significantly, Mitsuha noted during the fourth weekly session. The separation techniques Lady Tsunade taught you have reduced dimensional resonance by nearly 40%. Is that good? Naruto asked. Very. It means you're learning to exist in our dimension without constantly straining its fabric. She smiled slightly. Commander Jiraiya is quite impressed, though she'd never admit it. Life fell into a new routine. Team 7 resumed regular missions, though with greater attention to Naruto's energy output during combat situations. His training expanded to include more specialized techniques for managing his dual nature, with both Jiraiya and Tsunade taking personal interest in his development. Through it all, Naruto's relationships with his teammates deepened. Sasuke, rather than being jealous of Naruto's emerging powers, seemed to view them as a challenge to overcome through his own development of the Sharingan. Sakura devoted herself to medical ninjutsu under Tsunade's tutelage, determined to support her increasingly powerful teammates. Kakashi watched over them all with proud amusement, adapting his teaching to their evolving abilities. 2 months after Tsunade became Hokage, the DBA monitoring stations along the northern border detected an unusual surge in dimensional energy. Commander Jiraiya personally delivered the report to the Hokage's office, where Tsunade was meeting with Jiraiya and Naruto regarding his training. The patterns matched those recorded during the original Scion incursion, Jiraiya explained, laying out data charts on Tsunade's desk. But there's a difference, the fluctuations appear more stable, less chaotic. As if something is deliberately testing the boundary rather than crashing through it. Could it be related to Naruto's recent training? Jiraiya asked. Perhaps his controlled use of ki is creating a resonance effect. Jiraiya shook her head. The distance is too great, and the signature is distinct. This is coming from outside our dimension, not from within. Someone's trying to come through, Naruto realized. From the Scion dimension. That's our assessment, Jiraiya confirmed grimly. The question is, why now? And who? The implications were disturbing. If full-powered Scions entered their dimension, the results could be catastrophic based on what they knew of Broly's power level. We should investigate, Naruto suggested. I might be able to sense something about the energy that your instruments can't detect. Tsunade considered this. It could provide valuable information, but it's also potentially dangerous. If proximity to the dimensional thinning triggers a transformation response in you. I've been training for months, Naruto countered. And I've maintained control even in combat situations. Besides, if more Scions are coming, don't we need to know as much as possible? After debate, a compromise was reached. A joint investigation team would travel to the northern border monitoring station, including Naruto, Jiraiya as his supervisor, Commander Jiraiya with DBA specialists, and an ANBU squad for security. Naruto would be equipped with specially designed suppression seals that could be activated if his energy began destabilizing. The journey to the northern monitoring station took 3 days of fast travel. Located in a remote mountainous region near the border with the land of hot water, the facility was built into the mountainside, nearly invisible except for specialized sensor arrays extending from the rock face. The original breach occurred approximately 50 miles northeast of here, Jiraiya explained as they entered the facility. This station was established afterward to monitor for similar phenomena. Inside, DBA technicians worked at complex equipment that measured various energy frequencies and dimensional resonance patterns. Large displays showed fluctuating waveforms that meant little to Naruto but clearly concerned the specialists. The activity has increased by 17% since your departure, Commander, reported the lead technician. The signature is becoming more focused, as if homing in on a specific point in our dimensional boundary. Could it be targeting Naruto specifically? Jiraiya asked. Perhaps sensing a similar energy signature. Possible, Jiraiya acknowledged. We've considered that his presence might act as a beacon for interdimensional travelers, especially those from his origin dimension. Naruto approached one of the displays, studying the pulsing energy pattern. Something about it felt familiar, though he couldn't explain why. Can I see where exactly this is coming from? The physical location in our world? The technicians brought up a topographical map, indicating a point high in the mountains. The dimensional membrane appears thinnest at these coordinates. That's where the energy signatures are most concentrated. I need to go there, Naruto said, surprising himself with his certainty. Absolutely not, Jiraiya objected immediately. Bringing you into direct proximity with a potential breach point is exactly what we've been working to avoid. Commander, Jiraiya interjected, consider that Naruto might be our best sensor for this particular energy type. His connection to it could provide insights your instruments cannot. After heated debate, a compromise was reached. A small team including Naruto, Jiraiya, Shirai, and 2 ANBU would approach the site while maintaining a safe distance. Naruto would be fitted with additional suppression seals and withdrawn at the first sign of energy instability. The location was a barren mountainside, devoid of vegetation and scored with unusual patterns in the rock, remnants, Shirai explained, of the energy discharge during the original breach 15 years ago. As they approached, Naruto felt a strange sensation, like a humming vibration that resonated with something deep inside him. There's definitely something here, he reported, his voice tight with tension. It feels familiar somehow. Jiraiya placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. Focus on your control techniques. Don't let it pull at your energy. They established an observation position approximately 200 meters from the site identified as the focal point. Through binoculars, they could see distortions in the air, like heat waves but more pronounced, occasionally sparking with tiny flashes of light. The membrane is definitely thinning, Shirai observed. But it's a controlled process, not a violent tear like the previous breach. As they watched, the distortions intensified. The sparks of light became more frequent, coalescing into a swirling pattern that slowly expanded into a visible portal, a window between dimensions. Through this window, obscured by energy discharge and distortion, a figure became visible, humanoid, with spiky hair. Details were impossible to make out at this distance, but there was no mistaking the golden aura that surrounded the figure. A scion, Jiraiya breathed. In what appears to be a transformed state. The figure seemed to be studying their dimension from the other side, not yet crossing over but clearly capable of doing so. Suddenly, the figure's head turned, as if sensing their observation. Even across the dimensional barrier and hundreds of meters of distance, Naruto felt a connection, a recognition that transcended normal senses. Without conscious thought, he took a step forward. Naruto, stop! Shirai commanded sharply. Maintain your position. But something was pulling at him, an instinct deeper than training or discipline. His ki responded automatically, golden energy beginning to swirl around him despite the suppression seals. Jiraiya, contain him. Shirai ordered, panic edging her voice. We can't have two energy sources destabilizing the membrane. Before anyone could act, the figure on the other side of the dimensional window made a decisive movement. A beam of concentrated ki energy shot from its hand, not toward them but at the mountain peak above the breach point. The resulting explosion triggered a massive avalanche that cascaded toward the portal. In the last moment before debris obscured their view, the figure made eye contact with Naruto across the dimensional divide. Though too distant to see clearly, Naruto had the distinct impression the figure nodded to him before the avalanche crashed down, disrupting the energy patterns maintaining the portal. The dimensional window collapsed, the thinned membrane resealing itself as the external energy source withdrew. For several stunned moments, no one spoke. Then Shirai broke the silence. What just happened? Did they close the portal deliberately? It appears so, Jiraiya said slowly. The question is, why? They clearly had the capability to cross over. Naruto stared at the now normal mountainside, the golden aura around him gradually fading as his control reasserted itself. They weren't ready, he said quietly. Or, we weren't ready. I think it was a reconnaissance, not an invasion attempt. That's, actually a plausible assessment, Jiraiya admitted reluctantly. The precision of that energy beam suggests they wanted to close the portal in a way that would make it difficult to re-establish quickly. But they will try again, Jiraiya concluded grimly. This was just the first contact. As they made their way back to the monitoring station, Naruto remained unusually quiet, processing what he'd experienced. The connection he'd felt with the figure in the portal wasn't just recognition of similar energy, it had been more personal, almost like recognition between kin. That night, while the others discussed increased security measures and monitoring protocols, Naruto slipped away to the facility's roof. The clear mountain air afforded a spectacular view of stars, seemingly close enough to touch. One of those might be your original home, Jiraiya observed, joining him unexpectedly. Though dimensions aren't necessarily separated by physical distance. I don't think that was Broly, Naruto said abruptly. The energy felt different. Powerful but controlled. The original reports mentioned multiple scions, Jiraiya agreed. Your biological father wasn't the only one of his kind. Whoever it was, they knew I was here. Naruto looked up at the stars. And they'll be back. I'm sure of it. Then we'll be ready, Jiraiya promised. In the meantime, your training needs to intensify. If scions are taking an interest in our dimension again, you may be our best defense, or our bridge to understanding them. As they continued to gaze at the stars, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that a chapter of his life was ending and another beginning. The revelation of his scion heritage had answered some questions about his identity, but this encounter raised many more. Who were these beings who shared his blood? What did they want with this dimension? And most pressingly, did they know something about Broly, his biological father, that might explain why an infant had been sent across dimensions in a pod? These questions would have to wait. For now, his responsibility was clear, to master his dual nature, to protect his village, and to prepare for whatever might come through the thinning veil between dimensions. Tomorrow they would return to Konoha, and Naruto would face these challenges as he always had, with determination, friends by his side, and the unwavering belief that his path was his to choose, regardless of the blood that flowed in his veins. Chapter 3, Legacy of Legends. The Hokage's office was silent as Naruto completed his account of the dimensional incident. Tsunade sat behind her desk, fingers steepled, her expression unreadable. Beside her, Jiraiya leaned against the wall, arms crossed, while Commander Shirai stood rigidly at attention. Team 7 was present as well, with Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura listening intently. You're certain the figure on the other side closed the portal deliberately? Tsunade finally asked. Positive, Naruto confirmed. It wasn't an accident or a failed attempt to cross over. They targeted the mountainside to trigger that avalanche. Shirai nodded reluctantly. Our analysis confirms this assessment. The energy beam was precisely calibrated, enough force to destabilize the mountain but not so much as to expand the dimensional window. The question is why, Kakashi mused. Why open a portal only to close it immediately? Reconnaissance, Jiraiya suggested. Testing our defenses, perhaps. Or confirming Naruto's presence. Sasuke, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Or sending a message. All eyes turned to the Uchiha. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Explain. If they wanted to invade, they would have come through immediately, Sasuke reasoned. If they were just scouting, they could have observed more subtly without revealing themselves. But they made sure Naruto saw them, then deliberately sealed the breach. He glanced at his teammate. They wanted him to know they're out there. A chill ran down Naruto's spine as he recalled that moment of connection across dimensions, the nod that had seemed almost familial. Whether message or threat, we must prepare, Tsunade declared. Commander Shirai, increase monitoring at all potential breach points. Jiraiya, accelerate Naruto's training. If more scions are coming, we need to understand the full extent of his capabilities. What about me? Naruto asked. Don't I get a say in any of this? Tsunade's expression softened slightly. What would you suggest? I want to understand who I am, all of me. Not just train to fight or contain my powers, but to really understand where I came from. He looked around at the assembled faces. That figure recognized me somehow. Maybe there's more to my history than we know. The archives, Sakura suggested suddenly. The third Hokage must have kept records about Naruto's arrival. And the DBA would have documentation from the original breach. Shirai stiffened. Those files are classified at the highest level. So declassify them, Tsunade countered. At least for Naruto himself. This is his heritage we're discussing. After further debate, a compromise was reached. Naruto would be granted limited access to records regarding his arrival, while continuing enhanced training with both Jiraiya and specialized DBA consultants. Meanwhile, security measures would be heightened around Konoha, with sensor arrays calibrated specifically for dimensional energy fluctuations. As the meeting concluded and the others filed out, Tsunade asked Naruto to remain behind. There's something else you should know, she said once they were alone. Something Sarutobi-sensei kept from almost everyone, including you. She retrieved a small storage scroll from a hidden compartment in her desk. This was recovered from your pod when you arrived. The third sealed it away, believing you weren't ready for its contents. Naruto accepted the scroll with trembling hands. What's in it? I don't know, Tsunade admitted. The seal is keyed to your genetic signature. Only you can open it. The scroll felt inexplicably heavy in Naruto's hands. Why give this to me now? Because you're no longer a child, Naruto. And because whatever is coming, you deserve to face it with all the knowledge available to you. Tsunade's amber eyes held his. Just promise me one thing, if what you discover changes anything about your loyalty to this village, come talk to me before you act. Understood? Naruto nodded solemnly. I promise. Deep in Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death, Naruto sat cross-legged on a moss-covered stone, the mysterious scroll before him. He'd chosen this location for its isolation, whatever the scroll contained, he wanted privacy for his first encounter with this piece of his heritage. Drawing a deep breath, he pricked his thumb and smeared blood across the seal. The response was immediate, the scroll glowed with golden light, the same hue as his ki energy, before unrolling itself. Inside was not paper, but what appeared to be a small metallic disc with an unusual crystalline center. As Naruto touched it hesitantly, the crystal illuminated and projected a three-dimensional image, a woman with dark hair and fierce eyes, wearing unfamiliar armor with shoulder guards and a peculiar device over one eye. If you are viewing this message, the projection began in an accented but understandable voice, then you have survived, my son. I am Chi Lai, formerly of the Frisia Force, later of New Vegeta. I am your mother. Naruto's breath caught. His mother. After a lifetime of wondering, here was proof he had once been wanted, had once belonged to someone. Time is short, so I must be brief, the projection continued. Your father is Broly, last of the original Scion bloodline from planet Vegeta. He is a warrior of unparalleled power, but that power comes at great cost. The rage that fuels his strength eventually consumed his mind, making him a danger to all worlds, including his allies. The projection flickered, showing brief images of a massive, muscular warrior with wild hair and a fearsome expression that matched the figure from Naruto's dreams. When you were born, your father was briefly himself again, Chi Lai continued, her voice softening. He named you Daikin, a Scion name honoring his heritage. But as your Scion abilities began to manifest, even as an infant, Broly's instability worsened. He became convinced that you would suffer his fate, controlled by others for your power, then destroyed when that power grew too great to contain. Her image looked away momentarily, as if gathering strength. The decision to send you to another dimension was not made lightly. Lord Whis, attendant to the god of destruction, provided the means, this dimensional transport pod, as a mercy. Your father agreed in one of his lucid moments, believing it would give you a chance at a life free from the legacy of violence that consumed him. Naruto sat motionless, absorbing these revelations. A scion name. A mother who cared enough to send him away for his own protection. A father who, despite his madness, had wanted something better for his son. The pod is programmed to seek a dimension where key energy exists but is not dominant, Chi-Lai explained. A world where you might blend in, yet still access your heritage if needed. I don't know what world you found, my son, but know this, you are not destined to follow your father's path. His rage was engineered, his power manipulated from birth by cruel masters. You are free from that legacy. Her image seemed to look directly at Naruto, though it was merely a recording. Daiken, my little warrior. You carry the blood of the strongest scion who ever lived, but strength alone is not enough. Find purpose for your power. Find people worth protecting. And know that wherever you are, you were loved. The projection flickered one last time, showing a brief image of Chi-Lai holding an infant with a small brown tail, before fading entirely. The disc went dark, its message delivered. Naruto sat in silence as tears streamed down his face. Daiken. He rolled the unfamiliar name over in his mind. It wasn't him, not really. He was Naruto Uzumaki, ninja of Konoha. And yet, knowing his birth name, seeing his mother's face, understanding something of why he had been sent away, it filled a void he hadn't fully acknowledged. As the emotional wave subsided, he noticed something else. The disc had transformed, revealing a secondary component beneath the message crystal. It appeared to be some kind of device, similar to the eyepiece his mother had worn in the projection. Curiously, he picked it up. The device hummed with energy, automatically adjusting its shape before attaching itself to the side of his head, extending a blue-tinted display over his left eye. Numbers and symbols in an unfamiliar language flashed across the display before settling into patterns he could somehow understand: power readings, energy signatures, dimensional coordinates. It was a scanner of some kind, measuring and analyzing the energy around him. A scouter, he murmured, somehow knowing the term though he'd never heard it before. As he spoke, the device calibrated further, linking with his nervous system in ways that felt surprisingly natural. Through the scouter's display, the world looked different. He could see chakra signatures like Hinata's Byakugan reportedly could, but also other energy patterns, natural ki in plants and animals, dimensional fluctuations in the air itself, even the residual energy of past jutsu use in the training ground. This changes everything, Naruto whispered to the empty forest. News of an unusual energy spike in Training Ground 44 brought Jiraiya rushing to the scene, only to find Naruto experimenting with the strange device attached to his face. What in the world is that? The Sannin demanded, approaching cautiously. Naruto explained the scroll's contents and the discovery of both his origins and the scouter. As he spoke, the device continued analyzing and displaying data about Jiraiya's energy levels, which were far higher than Naruto had anticipated. Fascinating, Jiraiya mused, examining the scouter without touching it. A technological advancement from another dimension. The scientific division would love to study this. It's not leaving my possession, Naruto stated firmly. This is part of my heritage, the first real connection I have to my birth parents. Jiraiya nodded in understanding. Fair enough. But we should at least document its capabilities. And Naruto, the information about your father, about Broly, that significant intelligence we need to share with Tsunade. I know, Naruto sighed. I just needed some time to process it all first. They returned to the village, where Tsunade called an emergency meeting with only her most trusted advisors, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Shizune, and Shirai. Naruto recounted everything he had learned from his mother's message, while Jiraiya described the scouter's apparent functions. This confirms our theories about his origin, Tsunade observed. But it also raises new questions. If Broly was considered dangerous even in a dimension where such power is more common, what does that tell us about Naruto's potential? It tells us I need better training, not more restrictions, Naruto interjected. My mother said my father's rage was engineered, that he was manipulated. I'm not following that path. The scouter could provide invaluable data, Jiraiya noted, eyeing the device with professional interest. If it can detect dimensional fluctuations, it might give us advance warning of any further breach attempts. I've been scanning constantly since I found it, Naruto reported. Nothing unusual so far, but I'm still learning how to interpret all the readings. After further discussion, they agreed on a path forward. Naruto would continue his specialized training while using the scouter to monitor for dimensional anomalies. Meanwhile, the DBA would cross-reference its sensor data with information from the device, creating a more comprehensive detection network. As the meeting concluded, Kakashi approached his student. How are you handling all this, Naruto? It's a lot to take in. Naruto considered the question seriously. It's strange. I've spent my whole life wondering about my parents, and now I have answers, but they just lead to more questions. He adjusted the scouter, which had become surprisingly comfortable to wear. But at least now I know I wasn't abandoned or thrown away. I was sent here to escape a fate like my father's. And you have, Kakashi observed. Whatever Broly became, you forged your own path. Don't forget that. As they parted ways, Naruto felt a new sense of purpose. Understanding his origins didn't change his goals or loyalties, but it did provide context for the power that had always set him apart. His father's legacy was one of tremendous strength corrupted by rage. Naruto would ensure his own legacy took a different direction. Far to the north, beyond Fire Country's borders, a dimensional distortion rippled briefly before stabilizing into a small, contained portal. Unlike the previous incident in the mountains, this breach was barely detectable, precisely calibrated to allow passage without creating significant energy discharge. A figure stepped through, humanoid but clearly not human. Standing nearly 7 feet tall with pale blue skin and white hair, he wore armor similar to what Chilai had worn in the recording, though more elaborate and bearing unfamiliar insignia. A scouter, more advanced than Naruto's, covered his right eye. As the portal closed behind him, the figure surveyed his surroundings with clinical detachment. The scouter beeped, displaying information in the same alien script that had initially appeared on Naruto's device. Primitive dimension, the figure murmured, his voice carrying an echo-like quality. But the energy signature is unmistakable. Scion blood survives here. He tapped the scouter, calibrating it further. Locate target, genetic signature of Broly, descendant strain. The device processed momentarily before indicating a direction, southeast, toward Konoha. Begin mission parameters, the figure commanded himself. Target, Daikon, son of Broly. Objective, termination of Scion bloodline. Authorization, Galactic Peacekeeping Force, Dimensional Division. With inhuman speed, the hunter began moving toward his prey, leaving no trace of his passage except a faint energy signature too alien for standard ninja sensors to detect. In the weeks following the discovery of the scroll, Naruto threw himself into training with renewed determination. The scouter provided unprecedented insight into energy manipulation, allowing him to see exactly how chakra and ki interacted within his body and in the techniques he performed. Jiraiya focused their sessions on controlling the transition between normal state and the partial Ikari form that Naruto had achieved during the battle with Kabuto. Rather than treating it as a transformation triggered by emotion, they approached it as a conscious channeling of specific energy pathways. The scouter confirms what we suspected, Jiraiya noted during one particularly intense session. Your ki naturally amplifies under emotional stress, but with proper control, you can access that same power through focused intent. Naruto, hovering in a meditative position with golden energy swirling around him, nodded in concentration. It's like having two different muscles. Before, they were always firing together, but now I can activate them independently. This newfound control allowed Naruto to develop variations of his existing techniques. His shadow clones could now be created with precise mixtures of chakra and ki, making some more durable while others were faster or stronger. The Rasengan, already enhanced with ki in his battle against Kabuto, evolved further into what Jiraiya dubbed the Solar Rasengan, a swirling sphere of chakra with an outer layer of concentrated ki that could drill through almost any defense. Perhaps most significantly, Naruto began experimenting with flight, a ability his scouter identified as standard for ki users in his birth dimension. By projecting ki beneath him in a controlled manner, he could achieve brief periods of levitation, though true flight remained elusive without fully embracing the Ikari form. Meanwhile, his regular duties as a Konoha ninja continued. Team 7 undertook increasingly challenging missions, with Sasuke and Sakura adapting to Naruto's evolving abilities. Far from being jealous, Sasuke seemed motivated by the challenge, pushing his Sharingan and fire techniques to new levels. Sakura, under Tsunade's tutelage, developed her own specialties in medical ninjutsu and chakra-enhanced strength. Through it all, Naruto maintained regular scans with the scouter, searching for any sign of dimensional disturbance. The device occasionally registered minor fluctuations, background noise in the fabric of reality, Shirai called it, but nothing suggesting another breach was imminent. Until, 3 months after the mountain incident, everything changed. Naruto was returning from a solo training session when his scouter suddenly activated, displaying urgent warnings and pulsing red script. The energy signature it detected was unlike anything he'd seen before, not the chaotic discharge of a natural dimensional tear, but a focused, controlled breach that had already closed. Something had crossed over. And according to the scouter's analysis, it was heading straight for Konoha. He immediately reported to Tsunade, who called an emergency response meeting. The DBA's sensors detected nothing, Shirai insisted, reviewing the data from Naruto's scouter with clear concern. Whatever breached our dimension did so with unprecedented precision. The scouter identifies it as technological, Naruto explained, pointing to specific readings. A controlled portal, not a random tear. Which means intelligence, Jiraiya concluded grimly. Someone deliberately crossed over, using advanced methods to avoid detection. Tsunade turned to her ANBU captain. Double the patrols around the village perimeter. Any unusual sightings are to be reported immediately. To Shirai, she added, recalibrate your sensors based on this data. If this visitor used technology to mask their entrance, they might be using similar methods to conceal their approach. As the meeting disbanded, Naruto found himself pulled aside by Jiraiya. There's something we need to try, the Sannin said quietly. Something we've been avoiding. What's that? Naruto asked, though he suspected the answer. You need to speak with the Nine Tails. If we're facing an interdimensional threat, you might need access to both your power sources at full capacity. The suggestion sent a chill down Naruto's spine. His interactions with the fox had been minimal and universally hostile. The beast saw him as a jailer, nothing more. How would that even help? Naruto questioned. The fox hates me. Perhaps, Jiraiya acknowledged. But it also has a vested interest in your survival. And its chakra has shown unusual interactions with your scion energy. At minimum, we need to ensure it won't interfere if you need to access your full power. Reluctantly, Naruto agreed. That evening, in a sealed chamber beneath the Hokage tower designed to contain Bija chakra, he sat in meditation while Jiraiya monitored his condition. Using techniques the Sannin had taught him, Naruto turned his consciousness inward, seeking the place where the Nine Tails was sealed. His mindscape manifested as a vast, flooded chamber with pipes running along the ceiling, the plumbing of his chakra network. Before him stood an enormous gate, sealed with a paper tag bearing the character for seal. Behind those bars, in the shadows, 2 massive red eyes opened. So the jailer finally visits, the Nine Tails growled, its voice reverberating through the mental construct. What do you want, son of Broly? Naruto approached the cage cautiously. You know about my father? The fox's muzzle emerged from the darkness, massive teeth gleaming as it formed what might have been a smile. I have existed for centuries, across dimensions. The legendary Super Saiyan. His reputation extends beyond your comprehension. Then you know why I'm here, Naruto stated. Something has crossed over from that dimension. Something powerful. I might need your chakra as well as my ki to face it. The Nine-Tails studied him with ancient, malevolent eyes. Ah, so now you need my power. How convenient. And what do I receive in this arrangement? Survival, Naruto answered bluntly. Whatever's coming, it's strong enough to cross dimensions at will. If it defeats me, you're trapped in a dead body. Perhaps that would be preferable to imprisonment, the fox countered. Or perhaps this visitor might free me entirely. You don't believe that, Naruto challenged. You've seen my memories through the seal. You know what my father became, consumed by his own power, manipulated by others. Is that the ally you prefer? Some interdimensional hunter who sees you as nothing but energy to be harvested? The Nine-Tails fell silent, its massive tail swishing thoughtfully behind it. Finally, it spoke again, its tone different, calculating rather than merely malicious. Your Saiyan blood is interesting. Unlike human chakra, it does not repel my own energy. It resonates, amplifies. During your transformation against the Shikaka vessel, our energies briefly synchronized. I remember, Naruto acknowledged. It felt right somehow. More complete than either energy alone. A temporary alignment of interests, the fox clarified. Nothing more. But potentially useful. It leaned closer to the bars. I will offer you a compact, Naruto Uzumaki, son of Broly. When genuine need arises, I will not fight your drawing upon my chakra. In exchange, you will work toward improving the conditions of my imprisonment. What conditions? Naruto asked suspiciously. Awareness. Sensory access to the outside world. The experience of sunlight, wind, the taste of food. Through your senses, second-hand experiences rather than eternal darkness. The request surprised Naruto. He had never considered what existence must be like for the Nine-Tails, centuries of consciousness trapped in perpetual isolation, first in Mito Uzumaki, then in his mother, now in him. That seems reasonable, he admitted. But no influence over my actions. No manipulation. Agreed, the fox rumbled. A mutual non-interference pact, with benefits for both parties. My chakra flows freely when called upon, your senses become partially shared with me. They sealed the agreement not with a physical contract, but with a modification to the seal itself. Under the fox's instruction, Naruto focused his combined energies on the paper tag, not to remove it but to thin it slightly, creating a permeable membrane that allowed sensory information to flow inward while still containing the Nine-Tails' influence. When Naruto emerged from his meditation, he found Jiraiya watching him with concern. You were under for hours, the Sannin reported. What happened? Naruto explained the compact he had made with the Nine-Tails. Instead of the dismay he expected, Jiraiya appeared thoughtful. An interesting development, he mused. The fox is ancient and cunning, but not irrational. If it sees advantage in cooperation rather than resistance, that could significantly enhance your combat capabilities. It knows about science, Naruto added. Recognize my father's name immediately. The bijou exist partially outside normal dimensions, Jiraiya explained. Their consciousness spans realities in ways we don't fully understand. The Nine-Tails may have knowledge that could prove vital in the coming confrontation. As they left the sealing chamber, Naruto felt a strange sensation, a secondary awareness of his surroundings, as if experiencing them through different senses. The fox was already accessing his perceptions, observing the world through Naruto's eyes for the first time in 13 years. Jiraiya of the Sannin, the Nine-Tails' voice murmured in his mind, so faintly it might have been imagination. He has grown old since I last saw him. The comment startled Naruto, but he maintained his composure. This new connection would take adjustment, but if it helped him prepare for the coming threat, it was worth the discomfort. The hunter moved methodically through fire country, his advanced scouter constantly scanning for psion energy signatures. The primitive chakra used by this dimension's inhabitants registered as background noise, easily filtered out as he homed in on his target. He encountered several patrols of what appeared to be local warriors, ninja, according to his intelligence briefing. Their techniques were curious combinations of physical combat and energy manipulation, but nothing that posed any threat to a galactic peacekeeper with Class A combat enhancements. Those who detected him were neutralized with precise, non-lethal force. His mission parameters didn't require unnecessary casualties, only the elimination of the psion genetic line. The fewer complications, the better. As he approached within 20 kilometers of Konoha, his scouter detected a significant energy spike, a brief flare of ki, quickly suppressed but unmistakably psion in origin. The target was training, perhaps, unaware of the approaching threat. Target location confirmed, the hunter murmured to his recording device. Subject designation, Daikin, biological son of Broly. Threat assessment, moderate. Psion energy detectable but undeveloped. Proceed with primary extraction protocol. He adjusted his course, moving with increased speed toward the energy signature. The mission would soon be complete, another potential dimensional threat neutralized before it could mature into the planet-destroying force his superiors feared. In Training Ground 3, Naruto suddenly stiffened mid-exercise, his scouter beeping urgently. The device displayed a rapidly approaching energy signature, alien, powerful, and moving with purpose directly toward Konoha. It knows you're here, the Ninetales observed in his mind. Your energy spike during that last technique was detected. We need to warn the village, Naruto realized, deactivating his training seals. Before he could move, however, his scouter registered the signature changing course, now heading directly toward his current position rather than the village center. It's hunting you specifically, the fox noted with grim satisfaction. Not the village. Naruto made a split-second decision. If the entity was targeting him personally, leading it back to Konoha would only endanger civilians. Instead, he sent a shadow clone to alert Tsunade while he himself moved deeper into the forest, away from populated areas. He didn't have to wait long. The hunter appeared with startling suddenness, stepping out from between trees as if materializing from the air itself. Up close, his alien nature was unmistakable, blue skin, white hair, and eyes with black sclera and yellow irises. His armor gleamed with a metallic sheen unlike any material Naruto had seen in this world. Daikin, son of Broly, the hunter stated, his scouter scanning Naruto thoroughly. Your genetic signature confirms your identity. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto corrected, settling into a defensive stance. Who are you and what do you want? I am Xyos, dimensional peacekeeper, 3rd class, the alien responded mechanically. My mission is the elimination of the psion genetic line in unauthorized dimensions. You have been classified as a level 2 dimensional hazard. Naruto's mind raced. This wasn't a psion coming to find him, but some kind of interdimensional police force targeting his very existence. On whose authority? Naruto demanded, playing for time as he assessed his opponent. The Galactic Union, in accordance with the Dimensional Preservation Treaty. Xylos tilted his head slightly. Your ignorance is noted but irrelevant. Please submit to extraction. Resistance will necessitate forceful termination. Don't believe his official posturing, the Ninetales warned within Naruto's mind. The Galactic Union he mentions is a political entity. They fear psion power because it rivals their own gods. Before Naruto could respond, Xylos moved with blinding speed, appearing behind him with a strange device in hand. Only Naruto's enhanced senses, combined with a warning flare from his scouter, allowed him to dodge the attempt to press the device against his neck. What is that thing? Naruto demanded, creating distance between them with a chakra-enhanced leap. Genetic extractor, Xylos explained with clinical detachment. It provides a painless cessation of biological functions while preserving genetic material for study. You mean it kills me but keeps samples, Naruto translated grimly. Not happening. He formed a cross-shaped hand seal. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Dozens of clones appeared, surrounding Xylos in a defensive perimeter. The hunter appeared unimpressed, his scouter quickly identifying the real Naruto among the copies. Energy division technique. Inefficient. Xylos raised his hand, generating a pulsing sphere of lavender energy. Area suppression activated. The sphere expanded outward in a wave, disrupting the chakra networks of every clone it touched and dispelling them instantly. When it reached the real Naruto, however, something unexpected happened. His scion ki instinctively rose to shield him, creating a golden barrier that deflected the alien energy. Xylos's expression changed minutely, the first hint of emotion he displayed. Interesting. Autonomous defense response indicates partial awakening of scion combat reflexes. Threat assessment revised to level 3. He tapped his scouter, which emitted a series of beeps as it transmitted data. Request permission to employ Class B containment protocols. While Xylos was momentarily distracted, Naruto activated his partial Ikari form, the controlled state he had been practicing with Jiraiya. Golden energy swirled around him as his hair lifted slightly and his eyes shifted to teal. The transformation wasn't complete, but it significantly enhanced his physical capabilities and ki projection. I don't know what extraction involves, Naruto stated, his voice deeper in this form, but I'm not going anywhere. This is my home, my dimension now. Whatever you think Science did in the past, it has nothing to do with me. Xylos studied him, scouter continuously calculating threat assessments. Denial of heritage is illogical. Genetic destiny cannot be escaped. Your father destroyed entire star systems in his rage. The potential exists within you as well. My father was manipulated and driven mad, Naruto countered, recalling his mother's message. I'm choosing a different path. Choice is irrelevant, Xylos insisted. Scion biology responds to battle stimuli with exponential power increases. Eventually, control fails. It is inevitable. Without further warning, he attacked, not with energy blasts, but with precise physical strikes enhanced by his alien physiology. Naruto defended as best he could, but Xylos's combat style was unlike anything he had faced before, no wasted movement, no telegraphed attacks, just perfect efficiency. Within minutes, Naruto was on the defensive, accumulating injuries despite his enhanced state. Even with the Ikari form's increased speed and strength, Xylos was simply more experienced, more clinically precise in his attacks. He's toying with you, the Ninetales observed. Testing your capabilities, your limits. Then let's show him something unexpected, Naruto muttered, forming a familiar spiral pattern with his right hand. Chakra and ki swirled together, forming the enhanced Rasengan he had used against Kabuto, but with greater control this time. Xylos's scouter beeped in warning just before Naruto launched forward with the technique. The hunter raised an energy barrier, but the combined spiral of chakra and ki drilled through it, grazing his armor before he could fully evade. Dimensional energy synthesis, Xylos noted, examining the scorch mark on his armor with scientific interest. Unexpected adaptation. Threat assessment revised to level 4. He removed a restraint device from his wrist, revealing blue-white energy crackling beneath his skin. Class B protocols authorized. Limiter disengaged. The change was immediate and dramatic. Xylos's power level doubled according to Naruto's scouter, his movements becoming almost impossible to track. A barrage of energy blasts forced Naruto into desperate evasion, trees exploding around him as the forest became collateral damage in their battle. You need more power, the Ninetales urged. Draw on my chakra. Now. For once, Naruto didn't hesitate. Following their compact, he reached for the fox's energy, allowing it to flow through the modified seal. Red chakra erupted around him, forming a protective shroud with a single tail that complemented rather than fought against his golden scion aura. The combined energies created an effect similar to what had happened during his battle with Gaara, but with greater stability and conscious control. His senses sharpened further, his injuries began healing rapidly, and his strength increased dramatically. Xylos paused, his scouter working overtime to analyze this new development. Dual energy pattern detected. Second source integrated with Scion Key. Unprecedented configuration. Naruto didn't waste the moment of hesitation. With his enhanced speed, he closed the distance and landed a solid punch to Xylos's midsection, following with a barrage of strikes that finally broke through the hunter's perfect defense. Each impact created shockwaves that rippled through the surrounding forest, uprooting trees and carving new clearings in the landscape. For the first time, Xylos appeared genuinely concerned. Subject exhibits abnormal adaptation rate. Synergistic energy pattern enhances base capabilities beyond projected models. He disengaged, creating distance to reassess. Final authorization requested, Omega Protocol. Before whatever Omega Protocol might be could activate, reinforcements arrived. Jiraiya, Kakashi, and a squad of ANBU appeared at the edge of the newly formed clearing, having been alerted by Naruto's shadow clone. Naruto, status. Kakashi called, his Sharingan analyzing the alien opponent. He's some kind of interdimensional hunter, Naruto explained quickly, maintaining his dual energy state. Says he's here to extract me because of my scion blood. Jiraiya stepped forward, hands already forming seals. Then he'll have to go through all of us. Konoha protects its own. Xylos assessed the new arrivals, his scouter calculating threat levels. Additional combatants. Primitive energy users, but numerous. Mission parameters allow for tactical withdrawal when success probability falls below acceptable threshold. He tapped his scouter again, transmitting data to some unseen receiver. Mission status, temporarily suspended. Target exhibits unexpected energy synthesis and indigenous protection. Requesting full Peacekeeper squad for second extraction attempt. With startling suddenness, Xylos activated a device on his belt. A swirling portal opened behind him, smaller and more controlled than the mountain breach, but similar in energy signature. This confrontation is merely postponed, Daikin, he stated, backing toward the portal. The Galactic Union does not abandon dimensional security protocols. We will return. Before anyone could stop him, he stepped through the portal, which sealed itself immediately behind him. The entire forest fell silent, disturbed only by the settling of debris from their battle. Naruto allowed the Ninetales chakra to recede, though he maintained his partial Ikari form as he joined the Konoha ninja. That could have gone better, he admitted, wincing at his various injuries. It could have gone much worse, Jiraiya countered seriously. That being's technology and combat capabilities exceeded anything in our records. The fact that you held your own is remarkable. But he'll be back, Naruto said grimly. And next time, he won't be alone. Kakashi surveyed the devastated landscape. Then we'd better prepare. This isn't just about your training anymore, Naruto. If interdimensional hunters are targeting you, the entire village could be at risk. Back at the Hokage Tower, Naruto provided a full briefing on the encounter. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and the village elders listened with increasing concern as he described Xylos's capabilities and stated mission. A galactic union enforcing dimensional boundaries, Tsunade mused. It seems we're smaller players in a much larger game than we realized. The implications are staggering, Jiraiya admitted. Our understanding of dimensional physics assumed natural barriers and occasional breaches, not organized enforcement. What matters now is Naruto's safety and, by extension, Konoha's, Jiraiya interjected. Xylos mentioned returning with a full squad. We need to prepare appropriate defenses. What if I left the village? Naruto suggested reluctantly. Drew them away from Konoha. Absolutely not, Tsunade responded immediately. First, there's no guarantee they wouldn't target the village anyway to flush you out. Second, you're a ninja of Konoha. We protect our own. After extensive debate, a plan took shape. Rather than hiding Naruto or attempting to suppress his energy signature, which might only delay the inevitable confrontation, they would prepare for the hunter's return on grounds of their choosing. Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death, would be converted into a defensive position specifically designed to counter interdimensional threats. DBA specialists would establish energy barriers based on data from both Naruto's scouter and their sensors readings of Xyos's technology. ANBU and Jonin would prepare ambush positions and synchronized attack patterns. Most importantly, Naruto would accelerate his training, focusing specifically on the stable integration of his three energy sources, natural chakra, the Ninetales power, and his Scion ki. We have one advantage, Jiraiya noted as the planning concluded. They underestimated you this time. They'll be better prepared next time, but so will we. As the meeting dispersed, Sasuke approached Naruto in the corridor outside. So. Interdimensional hunters targeting you specifically. You really can't do anything normally, can you, dope? Despite everything, Naruto found himself smiling at the familiar insult. Jealous, team? Hardly. Sasuke fell into step beside him as they walked. But I've been thinking about your dual energy techniques. The Sharingan can see both chakra and this ki energy you use. There might be combination attacks we could develop. Naruto glanced at his teammate in surprise. You want to train together? Against the hunters? They threatened a ninja of Konoha, Sasuke stated simply. That makes them my enemies too. The sentiment was unexpectedly touching. For all their rivalry and Sasuke's usual aloofness, when it truly mattered, Team 7 stood united. I'd like that, Naruto agreed. And we should include Sakura too. Her chakra control is better than either of ours, might help with some of the precision techniques. As they made plans for joint training, Naruto felt a strange sense of clarity. The revelation of his Scion heritage, the compact with the Ninetales, even the threat of the interdimensional hunters, all of it was pushing him toward integration rather than division. Not Naruto the Jinchuriki versus Daiken the Scion, but a unified identity that drew strength from all aspects of his complex heritage. For the next 2 weeks, Konoha prepared for war on an entirely new front. Dimensional security became the village's highest priority, with resources diverted from standard missions to bolster defenses. The DBA, now working openly alongside ninja forces rather than as a separate entity, established monitoring stations throughout the village perimeter. Naruto's training evolved into something unprecedented, a collaborative effort involving specialists from multiple disciplines. Jiraiya oversaw the overall program, focusing on balanced development of all Naruto's capabilities. Tsunade contributed medical expertise, helping Naruto understand how his unique physiology responded to different energy types. Even Shirai provided valuable insights from the DBA's research, though she maintained her professional distance. The most significant breakthrough came from an unexpected source, Team 7's joint training sessions. As Sasuke had suggested, the Sharingan provided unique insights into how chakra and ki interacted, allowing for refinements that might have taken months to discover otherwise. The energies don't just run parallel, Sasuke explained during one session, his Sharingan active as Naruto demonstrated a technique. They spiral around each other, strengthening points where they intersect. With this observation, Naruto developed what they called helix techniques, jutsu that deliberately created spiral patterns of alternating chakra and ki, maximizing the reinforcement effect. His shadow clones evolved into helix clones, with dramatically enhanced durability. His Rasengan became the spiral star, a technique that contained multiple layers of rotating energy that could adjust to different targets. Most importantly, Naruto mastered transitioning between his various states, from normal to Ikari form, from pure chakra to Ninetales enhancement, or combinations of all three, without the emotional triggers that had previously been necessary. This control allowed for tactical flexibility that would be crucial against opponents as methodical as Xyos. Sakura contributed her own expertise, developing soldier pills specifically formulated for Naruto's unique metabolism. These hybrid catalysts, as she named them, could temporarily boost either chakra or ki production depending on which energy system needed reinforcement during battle. Your body processes energy differently than anyone I've studied, she explained, her medical training evident in her precise analysis. These pills won't work for normal ninja, but for you, they could mean the difference between victory and exhaustion. Through it all, Naruto maintained regular communication with the Nine Tails. Their compact had evolved into a wary alliance, with the fox offering occasional strategic insights based on its ancient knowledge. The Galactic Union fears scions because they cannot control them, it explained during one internal conversation. In most dimensions, power structures are fixed, gods above mortals, mortals in their assigned place. Scions defy this order. Their potential for growth threatens established hierarchies. Is that why you're helping me? Naruto asked curiously. Because you also defy those hierarchies? The fox's massive muzzle formed what might have been a smile. I am chaos incarnate, Kit. Of course I appreciate anything that disrupts pompous cosmic order. 17 days after Xylos' retreat, Naruto's scouter detected the first sign of the hunter's return, a faint dimensional disturbance far beyond Konoha's borders, similar to the signature that had preceded the first encounter. They're being more cautious this time, Jiraiya noted as they reviewed the data. Establishing position further out, probably scouting before committing to an attack. Tsunade immediately activated their prepared response. Civilians were moved to secure shelters while combat ninja took predetermined positions. Sensor teams began continuous monitoring, coordinating their efforts with DBA technology calibrated to detect interdimensional energy. For 3 days, nothing happened beyond occasional brief energy spikes detected at increasing proximity to the village. The hunters were clearly conducting reconnaissance, assessing Konoha's defenses before committing to action. On the 4th day, just before dawn, multiple dimensional portals opened simultaneously at different points around Konoha, not breaches into the village itself, but positioned at strategic locations that suggested a coordinated encirclement. They're here, Naruto announced unnecessarily, his scouter beeping urgently with multiple readings. 5 signatures, all similar to Xylos but varying in power levels. They're surrounding us. Tsunade's voice came through the communication seals distributed to all field commanders. All units, maintain positions. Let them make the first move. We fight on our terms, not theirs. Naruto, positioned with Team 7 in Training Ground 44, activated his Ikari form as a precaution. The golden aura surrounded him, controlled and steady, as he used his scouter to track the approaching signatures. The strongest one is heading straight for us, he reported. Must be Xylos. The others are spreading out, probably to contain any escape attempts. Kakashi nodded, his Sharingan already uncovered. Remember the plan. We engage defensively first, assess their capabilities and coordination. No heroics. The first hunter to appear was indeed Xylos, though his appearance had changed. His armor was more elaborate, with additional technological components and what appeared to be weapon systems integrated into the gauntlets. His scouter had been upgraded as well, covering both eyes with a visor-like display. Daiken, son of Broly, he greeted, his tone unchanged despite the previous battle. The Galactic Peacekeepers extend one final opportunity for voluntary surrender. Extraction can proceed with minimal collateral damage to your adopted environment. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto replied evenly, and I already gave you my answer. This is my home. These are my people. I'm not going anywhere. Xylos showed no reaction to the refusal. Indigenous attachment noted but irrelevant. Commencing extraction under Omega Protocol. He tapped his enhanced scouter. All units activate dimensional suppression field. Authorization code, Broly Omega 3. Throughout the forest, strange devices activated, creating a shimmering barrier that arched over their position. According to Naruto's scouter, the field was designed to prevent dimensional travel, both entrance and exit. The hunters were ensuring no escape would be possible. Now, Kakashi ordered. Team 7 launched their prepared countermeasure. Sasuke unleashed a massive fire technique not at Xylos directly, but at precisely placed explosive tags hidden throughout the forest canopy. The resulting chain reaction created a controlled firestorm that momentarily obscured their position while disrupting the energy field's formation. Simultaneously, Sakura activated seal arrays she had placed earlier, channeling Earth-Nature chakra to reshape the battlefield, raising walls, creating pitfalls, and generally forcing the hunters to navigate an ever-changing landscape. Naruto contributed the final element of their initial defense, helix clones deployed in a spherical formation around their position, each programmed to target different points in the dimensional suppression field with precisely calibrated energy disruption techniques. The strategy worked better than expected. The suppression field flickered and destabilized, creating gaps that Konoha's forces immediately exploited. ANBU squads that had been hiding beneath the forest floor emerged to engage the secondary hunters, while Jiraiya himself intercepted one who had been approaching from the east. Xylos assessed the deteriorating situation with mechanical efficiency. Coordinated indigenous resistance exceeds parameters. Field integrity compromised. Switching to direct extraction. He moved with blinding speed, bypassing the environmental obstacles with aerial maneuvers that confirmed Naruto's suspicion that key users from his birth dimension could fly naturally. His target was clear, Naruto himself, disregarding all other combatants as merely obstacles. What followed was a battle unlike anything Konoha had witnessed before. Naruto, in his Ikari form supplemented with carefully measured Ninetales chakra, met Xylos midair. Their exchange of blows created shockwaves that flattened trees and kicked up debris clouds visible from the village center. Xylos's combat style remained clinically perfect, but Naruto's recent training had prepared him specifically for this opponent. Where before he had been overwhelmed by the hunter's precision, now he matched it with his own unique adaptability, shifting energy types mid-combat to counter specific attacks, using helix techniques to disrupt the alien technology, and most importantly, fighting with the full tactical support of Team 7. Sasuke and Kakashi coordinated their efforts, using their Sharingan to predict Xylos's movements and create openings for Naruto to exploit. Sakura maintained their environmental advantages, continuously reshaping the battlefield to negate the hunter's technological superiority. "Your resistance is impressive but futile," Xylos stated after a particularly intense exchange left both combatants temporarily separated. "The Galactic Union has classified your genetic line as an extinction-level threat to dimensional stability. There is no scenario where you are permitted to exist." "You keep saying that," Naruto replied, wiping blood from a cut on his cheek, "but I'm still here. And I'm not fighting alone." As if to emphasize his point, a massive toad crashed down nearby, one of Jiraiya's summons, with the Sannin himself standing on its head. In its mouth was an unconscious hunter, evidently defeated in their separate battle. "One down," Jiraiya announced with grim satisfaction. "Reports indicate 2 more engaged with ANBU teams. That leaves you and one other, Blue Boy." Xylos showed the first hint of genuine emotion, frustration. Unexpected indigenous combat effectiveness. Mission parameters require reassessment. He activated his communication device, presumably to coordinate with his remaining teammates, but received no response. Instead, a voice crackled through that Naruto could hear with his enhanced senses: reports of resistance throughout the engagement zone, requests for extraction denied. The Peacekeeper mission was failing. Xylos made a decision. Primary objective supersedes team protocols. Target elimination authorized regardless of collateral damage. He removed both limiter devices from his arms, revealing energy conduits embedded in his blue flesh that pulsed with increasing brightness. His power level, according to Naruto's scouter, nearly tripled. "Final extraction protocol activated," he announced. "Dimensional stability risks acknowledged and accepted." The transformation was alarming. Xylos's body expanded slightly, the blue skin cracking to reveal glowing energy beneath. His movements became less mechanical, more fluid but also more savage. Whatever restraints had governed his combat approach were clearly deactivated. "Everyone back!" Naruto shouted, recognizing the danger. This was no longer a controlled extraction mission. Xyos was now willing to risk the very dimensional instability his organization supposedly prevented, all to eliminate the Scion bloodline. The hunter attacked with unprecedented ferocity, firing energy blasts that carved massive trenches through the forest. Each blast carried a strange distortion effect, briefly warping the fabric of reality where it impacted. According to Naruto's scouter, these attacks weren't just physically destructive, they were creating micro-tears in dimensional boundaries. "He's going to rupture the dimensional membrane if this continues," the Nine-Tails warned. His desperation has overcome his primary directive. Naruto realized the truth of this assessment. Xylos was now as much a threat to dimensional stability as any Scion, perhaps more so, given the deliberate nature of his attacks. "You've become what you claim to fight against," Naruto called out, dodging another reality-warping blast. "Your attacks are damaging dimensional barriers more than my existence ever could." "Acceptable risk," Xylos responded, though his voice now contained emotional undertones, anger, frustration, perhaps even fear. "The threat you represent is generational. Your offspring would inherit Scion potential. The current damage is temporary if your genetic line ends here." The battle intensified as Xylos pressed his advantage, driving Naruto back toward the village proper. This was clearly intentional, forcing a choice between continuing to fight at full power near civilian populations or surrendering to protect them. "You need more power," the Nine-Tails urged. "Draw deeper on my chakra. 2 tails, perhaps 3. "No," Naruto responded internally. "That would just escalate the dimensional damage. There has to be another way." As he fought defensively, buying time and distance, Naruto recalled his mother's message, "You are not destined to follow your father's path." His rage was engineered, his power manipulated from birth by cruel masters. "You are free from that legacy." The insight hit him with sudden clarity. The Peacekeepers, the Galactic Union, they were operating from fear of what Broly had been, not what Naruto could be. Their entire approach assumed Scion power must follow the destructive pattern they had witnessed before. But Naruto had something Broly never had: choice. Integration rather than division. Balance rather than domination. "I know what I need to do," he told the Nine-Tails. "But I'll need your cooperation, complete cooperation, not just access to your chakra." The fox was silent momentarily, sensing his intent through their connection. "What you're proposing has never been attempted. The energies could tear you apart. Or they could stabilize each other," Naruto countered. "You said it yourself, my Scion ki resonates with your chakra in ways that shouldn't be possible. What if that's not a coincidence? What if that's exactly what's meant to happen?" After a moment's consideration, the Nine-Tails gave a rumbling assent. "Your destruction would mean my imprisonment in death. Perhaps your madness is preferable. Do it, Kit." With that permission granted, Naruto changed tactics. Instead of continuing to fight defensively, he created distance between himself and Xylos, landing atop a massive tree at the edge of the forest. "What are you doing?" Kakashi called from nearby, clearly concerned by this apparent withdrawal. "Something new," Naruto replied with more confidence than he felt. "Be ready to contain any backlash." Taking a deep breath, Naruto centered himself and then did something unprecedented. He simultaneously accessed all 3 energy sources at their fullest extent. His own chakra, the Nine-Tails power, and his Scion ki, not as separate forces but as a single, unified whole. The initial effect was chaotic. Golden light erupted around him, interspersed with red chakra that formed fox-like patterns. His hair shifted fully to the golden hue of the Ikari form, while his eyes cycled between teal, red-slitted, and their natural blue. The competing energies created visible distortions in the air around him, similar to but distinct from the damage Xylos's attacks had caused. "Balance," the Nine-Tails guided, its voice unusually calm. Don't fight the energies, become the point where they converge. Naruto followed this advice, mentally positioning himself not as the controller of these forces but as their nexus. Instead of directing them, he allowed them to flow through him, finding their natural harmony. Gradually, impossibly, the chaotic energies stabilized. The gold and red merged into a deep amber aura that pulsed with steady rhythm. His hair settled into a golden state with red highlights, and his eyes found equilibrium, teal with slitted pupils, carrying the focus of both Fox and Scion. Xylos's scouter exploded from his face as it attempted to quantify this new form, unable to process the readings it received. He hovered in mid-air, genuine shock evident in his expression. Impossible, he breathed. Energy signature exceeds dimensional parameters, yet stability metrics remain within tolerance. How? Naruto examined his transformed state through his own scouter, which had somehow adapted to the change. According to its readings, his power level was extraordinary, yet the dimensional resonance, the disruptive effect on reality's fabric, was minimal, contained within a perfect equilibrium of opposing forces. Because I'm not what you think I am, Naruto replied, his voice carrying strange harmonic overtones. Not just a Scion. Not just a Jinchuriki. Not just a ninja. I'm all of them together, and something new entirely. He rose into the air without effort, flight coming naturally to this integrated form. My father's legacy isn't destruction, whatever your records show. His legacy is me, someone who chooses a different path. Xylos fired a desperate barrage of energy blasts, each carrying the reality-warping effect that had proven so dangerous before. Naruto didn't dodge. Instead, he extended his hand, and the amber aura extended with it, catching the blasts and absorbing them. The dimensional distortions were neutralized, processed through Naruto's unique energy system and converted to stable power. That's not possible, Xylos insisted, genuine fear now evident. No entity can neutralize dimensional fracture energy. I'm not neutralizing it, Naruto explained, understanding flowing to him through this new connection with his energies. I'm balancing it. My existence spans dimensions naturally, Scion heritage, Ninetales chakra, human body, ninja training. I'm a bridge, not a breach. This realization wasn't just for Xylos's benefit, it was Naruto's own epiphany, the final piece in understanding his unique identity. He wasn't a contradiction or a dangerous anomaly. He was synthesis incarnate, proof that integration was possible across dimensional boundaries. With this clarity came purpose. Naruto moved with speed beyond anything he'd previously achieved, appearing before Xylos faster than the hunter could react. But instead of attacking, he placed his hand on the alien's chest, directly over where a heart might be. I could destroy you, Naruto stated calmly. But that would just reinforce everything you believe about Scion nature. Instead, I'm going to show you something new. Through the contact, Naruto channeled a precise mixture of his unified energy, not to harm, but to heal. The cracks in Xylos's skin where power had erupted began to close. The dimensional distortion his unleashed abilities had created stabilized and then dissipated. What are you doing to me? Xylos demanded, though he made no move to break the connection. Proving a point, Naruto replied. Scion power doesn't have to destroy. It can build, protect, even heal when properly balanced. As the process completed, Xylos stared at his now restored arms in disbelief. The limiters remained removed, but the dangerous overload had been neutralized, replaced with a stable energy flow that his body could properly channel. The Galactic Union's records are incomplete, Naruto continued. They focus on the destruction Scions caused, not the potential they represent. Take that message back to your superiors. Tell them that the son of Broly isn't following his father's path of rage, but forging a new legacy of balance. Xylos hovered silently for several moments, his expression cycling through confusion, disbelief, and finally, a reluctant reassessment. His remaining equipment continued scanning Naruto, gathering data on this unprecedented energy state. The Dimensional Preservation Treaty requires elimination of all extinction-level threats, he finally stated, though with noticeably less conviction. Your continued existence violates protocol. Then change the protocol, Naruto challenged. Or at least amend it to recognize that not all power is inherently destructive. Judge individuals by their actions, not their genetic potential. The standoff continued for several tense moments. Then, surprisingly, Xylos nodded once, a small but significant acknowledgement. I will report these findings to the Galactic Union Council, he said formally. Your unique energy configuration presents new variables for consideration. He glanced around at the Konoha forces that had gathered during the confrontation. This world has developed more effective defensive capabilities than our intelligence suggested. The cost-benefit analysis no longer supports continued extraction attempts. It wasn't a promise of peace or acceptance, but it was a start, an opening for dialogue rather than conflict. Naruto would take it. Retrieve your wounded, he offered. Return to your dimension. If the Union wishes to establish proper diplomatic contact in the future, we'll be here. Xylos activated his communication device, issuing recall orders to his surviving team members. The dimensional suppression field deactivated, allowing the hunters to regroup around their leader. With a final, calculating look at Naruto, Xylos opened a portal large enough for his entire team. This matter is suspended pending review by galactic authorities, he stated, the closest thing to an official ceasefire Naruto expected to receive. As the hunters retreated through the portal, Naruto maintained his transformed state until the dimensional tier sealed completely. Only then did he allow the energies to gradually dissipate, returning to his normal appearance with careful control rather than an abrupt collapse. The forest around them was devastated, cratered, burned, and bearing strange distortion patterns where reality had been temporarily warped. But Konoha itself stood undamaged in the distance, its people safe. Jiraiya was the first to approach, his expression a mixture of pride and scientific fascination. That, he said simply, was something entirely new. What do we call that transformation? Kakashi asked, joining them with Sasuke and Sakura close behind. Naruto considered the question. Balance release, he decided. It's not just about power, it's about harmony between different aspects of who I am. Tsunade arrived with Commander Shirai and several ANBU, having observed the final confrontation from a distance. Will they be back? She asked without preamble. I don't know, Naruto admitted. But I think we've given them reason to reconsider their approach. At minimum, we've bought time. Shirai studied him with new respect. The dimensional readings during your transformation were unprecedented. Powerful enough to register on every sensor in Fire Country, yet somehow contained, stable. By all theoretical models, that shouldn't be possible. Maybe the models need updating, Naruto suggested with a slight smile. As the immediate crisis passed, recovery efforts began. Medical teams treated the wounded while assessment teams documented the battle's aftermath. Naruto participated in debriefings, providing as much detail as possible about the Galactic Union, the Peacekeepers, and the dimensional physics he had intuited during his transformation. Throughout it all, he maintained a new sense of internal balance. The Nine Tails, having experienced the unified state, seemed changed as well, less antagonistic, more thoughtful in their interactions. You surprised me, Kit, it admitted during a quiet moment. Few beings in any dimension would have chosen healing over destruction when given such power. It wasn't just kindness, Naruto replied honestly. It was the most effective way to prove my point. Destroying Xylos would have just confirmed everything the Galactic Union believes about science. Strategic compassion, the fox mused. Perhaps there's hope for you yet. 3 days after the Peacekeepers' retreat, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, gazing at stars that now held new meaning. Somewhere beyond that vast expanse existed the dimension of his birth, a place where beings like Broly, like Chi-Lai, like himself were not anomalies but part of the natural order. Thought I'd find you here, came Jiraiya's voice as the Sannin joined him at the overlook. Just thinking, Naruto replied. About dimensions, legacy, paths not taken. Jiraiya nodded in understanding. The multiverse is larger than we ever imagined. Makes our little village seem insignificant by comparison. No, Naruto disagreed firmly. That's what Xylos and the Galactic Union don't understand. Size doesn't determine significance. Konoha isn't important because it's big or powerful. It's important because it's ours, the people we care about, the bonds we form, the principles we uphold. Well said. Jiraiya smiled proudly. So what now? With this balance release form, you've already exceeded most Jonin in combat capability. The path to Hokage seems clearer than ever. Naruto considered this. The path might be clearer, but the journey still matters. I have a lot to learn about this new form, about controlling it without risking dimensional stability. He grinned suddenly. Besides, I still need to beat Sasuke in a fair fight. Can't become Hokage without proving I'm the strongest, right? Jiraiya laughed. Some things never change. His expression grew more serious. And what about your scion heritage? Now that you know more about where you came from, does part of you want to explore that dimension? Find others like yourself? It was a question Naruto had been pondering since the battle ended. Someday, maybe. I'm curious about my birth mother, about what happened to my father after I was sent away. But right now, my place is here. He looked out over Konoha, lights twinkling in windows as evening settled over the village. I'm Naruto Uzumaki first. Ninja of Konoha, future Hokage, protector of my precious people. The Scion blood, the Nine Tails power, they're part of me, but they don't define me. I define them by how I choose to use them. A comfortable silence fell between them as they contemplated the village below and the stars above. Finally, Jiraiya placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Your parents would be proud, he said simply, and Naruto knew he meant all of them, Minato and Kushina, who had sacrificed everything to make him a Jinchuriki for the village's protection, and Broly and Chi-Lai, who had sent their son across dimensions to escape a legacy of rage and destruction. Different paths, different dimensions, but united in one crucial aspect, they had all wanted something better for their child than the fate they themselves had faced. I know, Naruto replied softly. And I won't let any of them down. As if in response to his words, his scouter briefly activated, displaying an unusual energy pattern, not a breach or a threat, but something more like a resonance across dimensional boundaries. For just a moment, Naruto had the distinct impression that somewhere, in another reality, someone who shared his blood was looking back. The sensation passed quickly, but the feeling it left remained, a connection that transcended conventional understanding, a legacy that spanned dimensions. Naruto Uzumaki. Daiken. Son of Hokages and Scions. Vessel of the Nine Tails. Ninja of Konoha. All these identities, once fragmentary and conflicting, now existed in harmony within him, not competing aspects to be reconciled, but complementary facets of a unique whole. His path forward wouldn't be defined by any single heritage but by the integration of all of them, forging something new in the process. Balance, after all, wasn't about denial or suppression. It was about finding strength through unity, power through harmony. And in that understanding, Naruto had discovered not just who he was, but who he could become. The legacy of legends wasn't the power they wielded or the enemies they defeated. It was the paths they opened for those who followed, paths that could lead to either destruction or creation, depending on the choices made along the way. Naruto had made his choice. And as he stood beneath the stars with his mentor beside him and his village below, that choice felt more right than any power or title could ever be. This was his dimension now. These were his people. This was his legacy to build. And he wouldn't have it any other way. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.